So nice to see you. So remarkable to see you. So nice to see you. Such a delight to see you. Such a joy to see you. So good to see you. ये तो कमाल हो गया है, बिल्कुल कमाल कर दिया आपने. I have no words to express the way you have interacted, the way you have participated, the way you have enjoyed. Are you okay?
Yes.
Do you feel good? Do you feel really good? Most remarkable. आइए जी, सब आइए. ये तो बिल्कुल कमाल. In fact, yesterday evening I was feeling so good. I was just feeling good. Without doing anything, I was feeling so good. Just thinking about you, the way you have interacted, the way you have participated, the way you have come close to us. Nothing else is required. आपकी दोस्ती, आपकी मेहरबानी, nothing else is required. Right? इतना काफी है, बहुत काफी है. And the way you have interacted, most remarkable. How this is possible? Man? How this is possible? Is it? No. Don't say all those stupid things. I mean, it's not that say. It's so simple. It's all about seeing. Okay, please see. Please see me so that I can see you. And when you really see, bilkul kama. You see very clearly. People are so good. They are so innocent. There's nothing to find fault with any person, with any individual. Not necessary to criticize. No necessity to change people. Absolutely no way. Because each one of us are so perfect. A perfect creation. I follow you. It's all the matter of seeing. Good morning, wonderful morning, excellent morning. Good morning. What a remarkable morning. It's all about listening. But do we listen? With deep sensitivity, with deep softness, you simply listen. Listening is ultimate. And when you listen to a person, without an interpretation, without any judgment, without an expectation, every single word can become a prayer. One word is enough to transform, to change. When the Buddha says, one word is enough, provided we listen. Listening is ultimate. In deep silence, when the mind is empty, when the mind is clear, why are you saying sorry there? शुक्र है फिर भी आए तो I always sing this song whenever a student comes late in my class. Then you see the Kamal. Afterwards, they never ever come late. No, I'm not joking. But
getting this quality, then expecting my song is
no, you can your own way. What I'm saying is, I'm able to sing. That's my blessing. That's my luck. I'm able to sing. But each one of your own talent is there. Are you following me? If you're able to sing, please sing. But you must sing in such a way without hurting people. You must sing. The same song I can sing in such a way that I can kill you. I can destroy you. All right. But everything, whatever you do, whatever is there, you just do it in such a wonderful way without hurting. You can hurt people by singing, am I right? Am I right? In such a nasty way, in such a cruel way you can sing. That's possible. It's very simple. Whatever talent you have, but it must come from the transparency, that's all. You must become incapable of hurting people. Are you following me? You must become incapable. In no way you can hurt anyone. Even if you want to hurt somebody, no longer you are able to hurt people. Does it make some sense? You don't try to protect yourself. Don't try to protect yourself. Don't try to become secure by yourself. You just relax. And you become just soft. Become original. And then you see the command. You are not capable of hurting any person. Impossible. In no way can hurt you. You hurt people because you don't see. And when you are able to see, you are so good, immensely good. You don't have to say that I am good. Don't name it. Then you see the command. प्यार का नाम मैंने सुना था मगर प्यार क्या है ये मुझको नहीं थी खबर. Beautiful state of innocence. You don't even know that you are good. The moment you say that I am good, you are corrupted. The moment you say that I love, you are corrupted. Are you following me? The most beautiful state, you don't have to say anything. प्यार का नाम मैंने सुना था मगर प्यार क्या है ये मुझको नहीं थी खबर. मैं तो उलझा रहा उलझनों की तरह, दोस्तों में रहा दुश्मनों की तरह. मैं दुश्मन तो नहीं मगर हंसी जब से देखा मैंने तुझको दोस्ती आ गई. This is the problem when it comes to it. अभी चिल्ला रहे हैं, आने दो मैं देख के जा. मैं शायर तो नहीं मगर हंसी जब से देखा मैंने मुझको शायरी. आराम से वो बेचारी वो पूरा तक के ये क्या हो रहा है. ये बूढ़ा आदमी मेरे लिए गाना गा रहा है. कोई बात नहीं है, बूढ़ा भी गा सकते हैं, बूढ़ा भी आशिक हो सकते हैं. इनको अंदर से कुछ हो रहा है. Thank you so much. क्या हो रहा है जी? Oh my God! कोई घबराने की बात नहीं है कि आप आज की करके देखिए, कौन साल आपको बुरा बोलेगा. Thank you so much. We have a very interesting day. Welcome for the second day. We have very interesting sessions. But before we begin the day, can I request you, anything you remember yesterday? One word, one thought, one idea, one concept which comes to your mind immediately. Anything, instantly.
Never hold
Don't evaluate. Please describe as much as possible. Excellent. Evaluation and description. What else?
Don't hurt.
Never
Don't
hurt.
hurt.
Never hurt. Safe in one.
No hurt.
Safe in one.
Description.
Evaluation.
What else? Anything else you remember?
Safe environment.
And make them learn. Learning it's all about learning. Make them learn.
So primary feeling.
Make them learn.
Objective.
Pardon?
Primary feeling and
Primary and secondary feeling, excellent. Primary feeling and secondary feeling. We have not discussed it. We'll discuss it today. Primary and secondary feeling. And what else? Safe learning environment. Excellent. Safe. Somehow you make me feel safe. Somehow you make me feel safe.
Create.
What are three things here?
Objective.
Curriculum. Excellent curriculum. Learning method. Subject expertise. And here? Assessment. Everything is important. Then what else? What learning method is for us today? One learning method, very powerful learning method is for us today. In the morning, what is the learning method? Very powerful, very effective, very common. Lecture, am I right? Do you remember anything about lecture? Some guidelines?
don't be complete.
Space is very important. Space is very important. Don't be complete. Space is very crucial.
Engage people.
Don't be complete. And then engagement is very important. Engage the student, active learning, very important. Then what else? Explain. Something is important, explain. So that
Break the
time
silence.
to. Something is important, please.
Break the silence.
Yeah, profess, you are supposed to profess. And then
Break the monotony. Break the
break the monotony, important. Break the monotony. Very crucial, very crucial. There are 53 options to break the monotony. Am I right? What are they called as? They are called as diptychs. Excellent, they are called as diptychs. To understand how my students have learned. Anything else about my students?
Make a presentation, PowerPoint presentation, your substitute.
You are most important. Everything else is inverted funnel. Am I right? Inverted funnel. Why it's inverted? When you don't use it properly, it becomes inverted. Okay, it prevents learning. What else? Anything else? Organize. Most important, organize. Don't extemporize, but organize. Create. Objectives. Learning objectives are very important. Curriculum is nothing but objectives. And objectives must be created in head. Very good. Hand and heart. Head is knowledge. Am I right? That is knowledge. Hands are skills. And heart is attitude. In education technology, there are specific names for these domains. What is a knowledge domain? What is it called? Education technology. These terms are important because we may have to understand these terms. What is this domain called as knowledge? Cognitive domain. Cognitive. What domain? Cognitive domain. Cognitive. Then skills. What do you call that domain? Skills. Psychomotor domain. Psychomotor. And then attitude or heart. Very important domain. What do you call that domain? Affective. Not E. Affective domain. Affective. And this concept is called as Bloom's taxonomy. Classification of object is called as Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom has classified different levels in knowledge, different levels in skills, and different levels in attitudes. The most lowest level is called as recall in knowledge. My ability to recall a fact, an information, a lesson, that is recall. Second level is interpretation, my ability to interpret data. And the highest level is problem solving. In knowledge, you expect me, ultimately my knowledge will help me to solve a problem. Highest level is problem solving. So, as a teacher, my objective is to make my students to that level, problem solving, not just recall. But unfortunately, at present today's system, they are limited only to recall. It is most lowest level. Then you must take up the problem solving. Like that, skill, the highest level is automatism. My ability to perform a skill without any problem. Instantly, immediately, without making any mistake, I am able to perform. That's highest level, automatism. Similarly, in affective domain, the highest level is internalization. My ability to internalize your problems, your difficulties, your conflicts, as if they are my own problems. That is internalization, highest level of affective domain, where you really become empathic. Highest level. So the basic purpose of education is to take my students to that level, in knowledge, in skills, and in attitudes. Then they really become good professionals, so that they can live, they can love, they can laugh, they can enjoy, they can live well. That's very important. What else? Anything else?
Audience centric.
Audience?
Centric.
Audio centric. Student centered. Student centered is very important. Ultimately, my aim, my purpose, my objective is student centered. Student is for me, you are most important. I am not important. As a father, my son is more important. My student is more important. My client is more important. You are always more important than me. My purpose, my existence is only because of you. Very important. What did you just talk? What is this? Revision, recollection, recapitulation, reiteration. Beautiful thing, you see. In 2 minutes, every single concept, every single idea, every single learning is there. Am I right? You have not missed a single point. You have not missed a single concept. That means what? This is ultimate magic. Ultimate magic, because I very clearly see my students are with me. Every single thing has come, right? You are not missed a single component. What is this actually? This is also dipstick, am I right? And he's used this kind of things. Recollection is most essential, especially when go to a class. First 3, 4, 5 minutes, just spend trying to recollect. Trying to recollect what happened in the previous class. Because they come. And when they come, you have to give them space. Let them come, let them settle down, let them sit, let them relax, so that they are able to receive me. So first few minutes are very essential. They are coming. They have so many problems, they have so many difficulties, they are rushing, they are disturbed. So please, give them some space. Don't suddenly start. Don't immediately start. Let them sit. Let them take a breath. Let them settle down. Let them become more peaceful. Then only start your lecture. So that they are able to receive. Otherwise, those initial things will be totally lost. During that time, you can do recollection. And something has not come, some important concept has not come. That must alert you that they will not have learned. Otherwise, it has to come. Every single thing has come. You see? Every single thing has come. And this is the ultimate source of joy for a teacher. Because you very clearly see, students are learning. The biggest drawback is, many of us don't realize whether they are learning or whether they are not learning. That's most essential. Most essential. From time to time, you have to keep on checking the level of understanding, the level of learning, so that you can always go back and try to assess. If something is important, you have to do it again. Everything is there. Every single thing. Say, lecture, description, districts, not to heard, description, evaluation. Every single thing is there. We have a very important day, second day of the workshops. We start with very important sessions, but before we do, I have one more small exercise. I'll just do it. Just to, because I thought, of course, each one of you understood the description evaluation. But still, a small handout just to help you understand about this, a very important concept. Not that. Any questions there?
So you said the assessment is a very important part.
Yeah.
But from assessment without evaluation cannot be possible.
Yeah, we'll speak about that. Very interesting question he's asking. He is asking, how it is possible to assess without evaluation? Now these two words, assessment and evaluation, are they different or are they same? Excellent. He is asking, is it possible to assess without evaluation? Because whenever you assess, there will be some extent of, some amount of evaluation. Now what is assessment, what is evaluation? Is it possible to do without assessment? If you don't want to evaluate any person, because that assessment can hurt people, right? That assessment can hurt people, right? That assessment, the examination, the marks can hurt people, right? Are you following? So what is assessment, what is evaluation? Assessment is essential. What is assessment? When you are assessing a student, what does it actually mean?
You are evaluating what he has done.
Please, but don't use that word. Be very careful. Assessment means assessment. Objectively, I am trying to assess how much you have learned. So assessment restricts to the subject, not to the person. Not to the person. You just say, I have assessed you, and I very clearly see you are not learned. That's why I am failing you. That doesn't mean that you are failed in life. That you must tell them very clearly. You are failed in this subject, but you are not failed in life. That I always tell my students, I understand you have not got good marks. You are not good marks because you are not studied this subject. That doesn't mean that you are failed in this life. Because we very clearly see students don't do that well in the college. They do exceedingly well in life. Am I right? So you tell them very clearly. Very clearly tell them this assessment is restricted to your knowledge. Please study, pass. World is waiting for you. So why you wasting your life here? As well as possible, try to pass your examination and please go. Don't take this assessment very seriously. Don't take it very personally. This assessment is restricted to your subject. And that assessment, we'll speak about that tomorrow again. Ramnarayan will speak about assessment and evaluation. But are you following me? Never ever use the mark to judge my personality, my talent, my gift. That's the problem. Just because I failed in this subject, you say you're useless, you're no good for anything. I'm good for a few things, am I right? Am I right? You can't say I'm no good for anything.
Sir, we understand that.
Yeah.
But students, we evaluate students in particular subjects.
Yes.
So
You're assessing, you're not evaluating.
we assess them. But we are not assessing only one student, many students.
Many students.
And then they say that okay,
This fellow is first rank, they have failed. Yeah. That's not.
and they compare each other and then say that okay, we are
Yeah,
helping.
that means you are not explaining that. That's the problem. Of course, I understand when you work in a system, maybe it may not be easy to explain, but at individual level, you can always explain.
So one example you gave yesterday, the summation.
Yeah.
That you give the summation instead of
Yeah.
saying cross, you give the reason.
Yeah.
So one way of this,
Yes.
doing is this. But always, if we fail students, they always say that this is not good.
They will say that. But what he's saying is, you can't change the system. Can you change the system? Can you create a system where there is no assessment? Absolutely no examinations. Can you create that system? Don't say not possible, but
It is not
not
good.
possible for me and you.
It is not
But
good.
if you are collective, don't say not good. Say difficult. But it's possible no, to create a system where there is no, without assessment you can understand whether they have learned or not. Am I right? Am I right? Please think about it. Please think about it. Please think about it. Now I am asking very simple. Is it not possible to examine? Is it not possible to understand whether they have learned without using any assessment system? Assessment, but I am asking this, is it not possible to understand whether they have learned or not without using an assessment? Please, think about it. Don't say possible, not possible, please think about it. We had a beautiful system many centuries back, where the teacher and student used to sit, they used to discuss, they used to have a dialogue, and the teacher will decide which student is able to not pass, which student has learned. Some students will learn in 2 years, some students will take 10 years, but absolutely no discrimination, no evaluation. This is my capacity.
But that is the assessment again. If you learn 2 years and 10 years.
That is, I know when you have learned. I'm not assessing it. I know. I'm not saying that you are good, he is bad. That I'm not saying that. Because each one of us created in a unique, remarkable way. Nothing wrong in that. I say, you are my son. Please be with me for 10 years. Please be, I take care of you. I know, I'm not discriminating. Okay, I'm following you. That's possible, but we're not going to that because now number of words are in. If you get in this thing, you will get very complicated. Don't make it complicated. At a personal level, you please tell them. Are you following me? Don't try to destroy the system. Not possible. Only thing is you must leave this job and you have to go away. That's the only possibility. But you can't do. Am I right? So as long as your system, whenever you meet the students, tell them. Don't take it very personally, my son. I understand. I'm helpless. I have to assess you. I have to give a grade. I have to give a mark. But I very clearly say, this is not against your personality. This is not against your talent. This is not against your gift. I'm not saying that you're useless. I'm only saying that in this subject I failed. Am I right? That's all. That's all. You can't fight. You can't stuck your head to the wall. Your head will break. Okay? Are you following me? Don't do that. Don't do that mistake. Okay? Be wise.
But I think the counter dialogue on the assessment comes only when somebody is being assessed is not aware that how and on what criteria and on what ground is being assessed.
That's the problem. That's the problem. They are not made a system objective. They are not made a system objective. As long as you make the system objective, many of your students will not object. They will understand. That is going to be discussed. How you make the system? How do you make the system purely objective, so that the rules of the game must be made become very clear. Here the problem is the students think the system is biased. System is flawless. That's the problem. We'll discuss about that. We'll discuss about that. It's not that easy, but you are touching a very important thing. We'll discuss about that. But before that, please one simple handout I given to you. A simple handout, just 10 statements, just work out those statements and say whether the descriptions are evaluation. Just read the statements and say whether the descriptions are evaluation. Please do it right now. Just do it. Because description is skill. Using the words in a remarkable way, not hurt people. Words must be used. But the words must be used in such a way that you are in the process you not hurt people. Please do it right now. I am sure it. Write D for description in the box. If the box, write. If there are descriptions, write D. If you are evaluations, write E. Descriptions, evaluations. Read the statements. Are you following me? Read the statements and say whether the descriptions or evaluations. नमस्ते जी, नमस्ते, आप कैसे हैं? आप बैठिए, आप बैठिए. Read the statements and say whether the descriptions or evaluations. Please do it. Read the statements and say whether the descriptions or evaluations. Put in the box D for descriptions, E for evaluations. Excellent. Very good. Oh my God, you are done. You have to do so well. Excellent. Doesn't matter. You start from the bottom. 10. The boys in your college are very indecent and they insult the girlfriends very often. Evaluation. 9. A group of students are shouting slogans against their union president as they walk along the corridor. You are describing. You are clearly seeing and you are describing what you are seeing. 8. Large number of students who are able to behave are either lazy or they are not capable. Evaluation. 7. 6 students met the principal and told him they would boycott the classes as they protested the teachers. 6 question. 6. This last month and most of them are not interested. Evaluation. 5. 22 out of 38 students have submitted their assignment yesterday and I completed correcting them last night itself. This question. 4. First day is the most stupid class. They can never understand anything what we teach. Third, our college is highly appreciated by all parents. That's why there is a big demand for teachers. The exercise is completed by the first MA, second batch are extremely good. It's okay when you say good, but please tell why you are saying that I am good. Describe why you are saying that I am good. That will help me. More slips in the class, putting his head down. This is very difficult. आपका नाम क्या है? गौरव. आपका एग्जाम्पल मैं दे सकता हूँ. गौरव. My student. मेरा छात्र. I go to the class and what I say, Gaurav. How to respond? Anything is okay, but you can't tolerate somebody sleeping in my your class. Gaurav. मैं समझा था अच्छा बच्चा है, अच्छा छात्र है. How to respond as a teacher? A simple behavior in your class. There can be several disturbing behaviors. How do you respond to a behavior which is very uncomfortable? It makes you very uncomfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable. Please, how do you respond? How do you respond? Oh, you go and wake him up. Oh my God, what madam? What wake him up? And how you wake him up? How you wake him up? How you wake him up? Huh? I don't know about you, but me, sleeping in my class.
Due to boarding lecture.
Wasting everybody's time. Wasting your father's money. Come and sleep in my class. You go to the bar, drink the whole night and come and sleep in my class. But what you saw with your beautiful, innocent, simple eyes, what you saw actually? What you saw? आपने क्या देखा जी? आपने क्या देखा? आपने क्या देखा? आपने क्या देखा? Ah, he was. But how do you know that he's wasting his father's money? He made a statement in front of everybody. He made a very nasty, very ugly statement, very mean statement that he's wasting his father's. You don't even know whether he has a father or not, but you made a statement. And you have a right to make a statement. You have a power to make a statement. And you can get away with that statement. Am I right? Yes. What is that? That statement is nothing but a evaluation. You look at a simple behavior and your mind gives your own meaning for that behavior. How do you know that you are drinking the bar whole night? He may be sick, he may be in the hostel, he may be somewhere else, but how do you know? He made a statement. He made a statement that he was drinking in the bar all night. How do you make a statement?
Sir, if the attendance is short and you will not appear in the exam, attendance is short and he will.
And your concern is
Yes,
there.
my concern.
But how do you communicate that concern? You understand? Beautiful, you see. Your basic, we'll speak about that. We'll speak about that. But how do you make a statement? How do you make a statement while you're drinking the bar whole night? You made a statement. It's very simple, man.
Sir, maybe because of my past experience with that boy, at the background of the boy,
Not this boy, maybe some other boy. Am I right?
with this particular boy.
This boy.
With this boy.
Yeah. But you made a statement that he was drinking. Why? It's very simple, because you are also drinking the bar whole night. Am I right? Now that is the past image. See? You always meet people with past image. And this image is most important. We never meet people really as they are. We always meet with their image. Some years back, I was traveling to Bangalore. From Manipal to Bangalore is 8 hours journey. Okay, 8 hours journey. I had to go very urgently. I bought the ticket. I went to the bus station. I was waiting for the bus to come. 10 o'clock night was the bus. It is about 8 hours journey to Bangalore. With my suitcase, with my briefcase, which has some papers, some money. I was standing there waiting for the bus. Bus has not come. I was waiting. Bus has not come. Suddenly I see one small black fellow. Nice fellow, good fellow. He comes to me and says, he's also going to Bangalore by the same bus. Excellent fellow. He start talking about cricket, about weather, about this, about that. Excellent fellow. My God, I love that fellow. Bus has not come. We are waiting. After some time, the fellow is not seen. My bag is also not. You feel terrible. Anything is okay, but you can't tolerate somebody cheating you. I trusted him so much. In 2 minutes, he was able to cheat this big professor. No, it's not easy. It's not easy. You see, especially when you think you are a big point, big professor, very intelligent, very smart, and one small fellow cheats you. You feel terrible. But next time when you meet a black small fellow,
Next time.
you become cautious, you become careful because of the previous
Experience.
In my place, I'm Sudhakar Nayak. Sudhakar Nayak as a Konkanis.
Sir, is it the image or my past experience?
That past experience creates an image.
Yes. And probably that experience might be the true experience, and now because of my experience I can very well judge people also.
No, you have to be
And that might
careful.
be correct also.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful. Because the next black fellow cannot be a thief. Am I right? The problem is not just that. You have to use your intelligence, your awareness. I'm not saying that you should live carelessly. I'm not saying that. Experience is important, but whenever you use that experience, please understand how that experience creates an image and how you meet people with image. You have to be careful. Otherwise, you will unnecessarily destroy me. This is exactly what happens. Sudhakar Nayak, in my place, Sudhakar Nayak is called as Konkanis. I speak Konkani. And you know what happens? In my place, Konkanis are called as Kokes, number 7, number 7. So number, it happens all places, you see. They call me number 7. What is number 7? Crook. I'm not joking. The moment people come from that I'm Konkani, they become little careful. I'm telling you honestly, I have not cheated any person in this life. I'm not a crook. But the moment they come to the, he's a Konkani, they always look with him. Okay.
This is called a stereotype.
That is called as your image. That's your image. You please understand, the moment you come to know the person's background, his culture, his caste, you already have a Banias. Baniya hai kya? Oh my God!
This is evaluation.
That's not an evaluation. If you really want to understand her, you must understand her without using that image. You always carry images about people. You have image of your own wife, your own father, your own mother, your own deacon. Am I right? We never meet each other. You always, the images meet. Because your wife also has an image about you. Only images meet, we never actually meet. That is the ability to look at the world with fresh eyes. Because I am fresh, man. The Sudhakar Nayak whom you met yesterday and Sudhakar Nayak whom you meeting today are different. Am I right?
Yes.
Because the life is always fresh. That's why you get bored. You think this wife, 35 years. Oh my God, the same wife. What is that to see? Everything you have seen. Am I right? What is that?
Sir, but
My God, this man is your problem. I know what you will do. Oh my God. You can't change your mind. You can't think about her. That's the problem. That's why you always in search of new thrills. Am I right? Because you get bored with what you have, because you think this has become stale. Your life has become stale. Are you following me? Please, this is extremely essential. This life is remarkable. The tree, the sky, the stars, the moon, the river, whatever is alive is always fresh. Stale things are things which are dead. Are you following me? This is extremely essential. It means when you look at a tree, when you get up in the morning, when you go to office, you look at the tree. What? Do you ever look at a tree? What is that look at a tree? When you go back in the evening, the tree is still there. You don't even look at the tree because you think it's a dead tree. It's an old tree. But please understand, it is a new tree. It has grown some more leaves, some more flowers. I follow you. But you have no eye, you have no wisdom, you have no awareness, you have no understanding. Look at people with fresh eyes. This is most essential. Every single day, every single moment, I'm a new man, I'm a new person. But you never see. बदल जाएगा मेरी आवाज़ ही पहचान. That's the most remarkable victory with the kind of freshness. Then I can assure you, I can promise you, never ever get bored. Every single day, every single tree, every single flower, every single leaf, every single grass, that old wife, she can give you so much of thrill. Provided you are able to see her with fresh eyes. You never see, because she has hurt you, she has insulted you, she has nagged you, she has fought with you. All those difficult images, difficult memories are always there. And you always meet that moment with those insults. She has insulted you, haven't you? And she has to insult you. You deserve that insult. Mother is getting upset. Won't my God. ये क्या बोल रहा है? मैं तो अच्छा हूँ. She will never ever get a husband like me. I mean, that's what she That's not all we think. Always men think that way. This lady, I'm married. You are made for each other. In no way you could have met any other person. Your father, your mother, your spouse, your son, your child. This is bhagya, ultimate bhagya. And it's right happening. It's a proper happening. You are made for each other. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Please understand. Please sit. Please look at her without those previous images. Most essential, which is, we'll think about that, because this you have to understand. Ultimately, what it is. Otherwise, I'm telling you, whatever you do, simple things can give you so much of joy. When you make a cup of tea, say it's spit tea, but the tea is a fresh tea, am I right? The way you make a cup of tea, the way you go for a walk, the way you play with your child, the way you listen to your husband, when you take a class, every single class is a new class. You may take the same topic, but every single day is a new class. But you think this is a old class. Oh my God, I've been teaching the same class, the same topic. You are fed up, you are frustrated. That's why you lose all that joy. But this class, this moment is a fresh moment, which has never happened. It has never happened. It will never going to happen again. Then I can tell you, whatever that becomes, your life becomes a prayer. Your life becomes meditation. It's a beautiful way to live. Don't search, don't seek, don't struggle, don't do anything. What is available right now, you see. You please see. You please see. This has never happened. What's happening now has never happened. Are you following me? But you never see. Look at your child, your son, your daughter, your father, your mother. Please look at them. Please see. Please see. Then you understand. This life can be so sacred. This life is always sacred. But you must always listen. बहुत पहले से उन कदमों की आहट जान लेते हैं तुझे जिंदगी तुझे जिंदगी silent is okay. But the problem is you can't remain silent. Whenever you look at your wife, your son, you have to speak. You have to insult. Are you following me? Ultimate capacity to see people and to remain silent. कुछ भी करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, कुछ भी बोलने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, कुछ भी कहने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Because that silence is ultimate. In the silence you communicate everything. The only way is communicating in silence. Of course, once in a while you may have to use the word, but that word becomes so divine, so sacred. One word is enough. But your silence is. I'm following you. You understand? तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं. तेरे बिना जिंदगी से जिंदगी ओ नहीं, जिंदगी. How I can live without you? Is it possible to live without you? You have been so close to me, but of course you are hurting me. तो प्यार बहुत मुश्किल है, बहुत मुश्किल है. इतना नाराज है, इतना सताती है, इतना बेचैन करती है. और हम क्या करें? होठों से लिए हुए दिल की बात हम जागते रहेंगे ओ कितनी रात हम. होठों से लिए हुए दिल की बात हम जागते रहेंगे ओ कितने रात हम. उफ्त भर की बात है, तुमसे प्यार है तुम्हारा Please call me. Please call me. Please call me. All the hurts, please forget. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. हाँ मैं बुद्धू था, मैं नालायक था, मैंने आपको बहुत तड़पाया, बहुत दुख दिया, बहुत दर्द दिया. Please call me. When you are going to call me. I follow you. Please. All those stupid memories, all those stupid images must be erased. So that I become fresh, you become fresh. This is the ultimate way to live. You must always become fresh. You must always take that bath. You must always purify yourself.
फिर एक बार अजनबी नहीं हो जाए.
Oh my God! She was so hot. चलो एक बार से बन जाए हम लोग. Remarkable way to live. But you must die. If you are born fresh, you must die. You must. Or you must die. Not physical death. That will happen one day. But emotionally, you must. All the villages, all the hurt, all the experiences. In fact, there is no experience. There is only experiencing. It's a remarkable statement. Krishnamurti says that. There is no observer. There is only observation. That's the ultimate way to live in this world. Die to the observer. There's only observation. There's only observation. There's only observation. We'll speak about that, but thank you so much. This is most remarkable. I've never seen the way you have responded, the way you have touched us. This is most essential. Buddha says three things. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami. Dhamma is most important. What is Dhamma? A simple fact. A simple fact. And Buddha is a very simple man. We are all Buddhas. Who is Buddha? A man or a woman who has seen the truth. Or only to observe the truth. And the last thing is very important. Sangha. What is Sangha? Sajjanara Sangha. Good people. Remarkably good people. Ultimately ultimate joy is to live with Sangha. Thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. I'll stop here to start today with a very important session. How you interact with the Sangha. Sangha is what? A small group. And the skills of communicating in a small group are totally different from the skills of the lecture. Lecture is what? It's all about communication. That is try to communicate to a large group. Right? But you must also have the skills to communicate in a small group. So Professor Ramnarayan is going to share with a very important session. How we can interact, how we can participate, and how we can make the students learn in a small group. Shall we start the day? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning. Very good morning. Very good morning. Very good morning. Wonderful morning. If you look into the program, you will note that the first session, that is after the recollections, what we had is a recollection, reinforcement of some of the concepts. That's the first session. That is followed by the session on communicating in small groups. Skills are totally different. So we're going to see what goes into small group teaching, or discussional teaching or small group teaching. And we as teachers meet students in small groups. So we're going to look at that skill. So that's the first session. Then we'll go for tea. After tea, we'll come back for a session that is titled as Heart Sutra, if you see that. Heart Sutra. Heart Sutra is nothing but relationship. When we work in organizations, in departments, in institutions, we work with people. And everything is about relationship. What goes into a meaningful relationship? And what are the foundations on which relationship is built, and how you can have a rewarding relationship with the people around you. So we're going to examine that. So that's what's going to happen in the session after tea. That will go on till lunch. And then we'll break for lunch, come back in the afternoon, and soon after lunch, I will do a session on speaking from a lectern. That is public speaking. Most of us as academics are required to give a welcome address, vote of thanks, be a master of ceremony, introduce a chief guest. We are lost sometimes. We don't know what to do. No one has trained us. We just look at some events happening and we take a decision how it's to be done. So we're going to look at that post lunch, and then after the tea break we will have the last session for the day, and that relates to the second part of communication. What Sudhakar did yesterday was description evaluation. The second one that is equally important if you want to bring about change is what is known as primary feeling and secondary feeling. So that is what will be done, and then we conclude like yesterday. We will conclude by 4:45. Now let's start with this session, that is small group teaching, or rightly speaking to be called small group learning. The emphasis today is on learning. So ideally speaking, we should call it as small group learning. Now let me ask you, what is the difference between lecture and small group learning? More interactive. Okay. Any other?
Lecture is one-way communication, while group small.
Lecture is one way. Small group is often two-way. Yeah. Most group, yes. Any other?
Lecture has a one plan, one subject, one module to be discussed with the students. But in a school, in a small group, we can have problems of the individuals. We can pay more focus.
You have more flexibility. Yes, more interaction. It is two-way. There is more flexibility. You can move. You are not having something fixed. It's not a fixed agenda. Some amount of flexibility is there. Very good. Any other?
One-to-one interaction.
Personalized, one-to-one, any other? Sharing of ideas.
Students get more opportunity to interact without any hesitation and reluction.
Yes, they have much more scope for interacting without any pressure or feeling. Yes. Okay. Okay. Any other difference? But more eye contact in because the numbers are less. Yeah. More engrossing, more involvement in small group. Any other from?
Lecture may be boring, but it should be very interesting.
Okay. All right. That's an evaluation. Lecture can be boring. Small group need not be because the group is small. Any other difference between lecture and small group?
So one very important thing that sometimes the group members can give the most beautiful original ideas also.
Yes. Okay. So ideas can come. They emerge from the group. Okay. Fine. So that's another. Any other difference between lecture and small group?
So we can study the case study like in the management. Case study we can.
Yes, case studies are possible in small groups, may not be possible in lecture. Any other? I didn't hear anything from you.
Same, the activities can be done.
More activity in small group.
To the
Yeah.
concern.
Okay, fine. Wonderful.
Debate could be done.
Debate, yes, sure. You can have debate discussion. You can
So
have.
in lectureship, it is a one-way communication as it is said.
Yes.
Only one person is speaking and all other are listening. In a group, while discussion is going on, we can see the same problem with different perspectives of.
Now what is happening? Group discussion. Exactly.
It is a
That's So there are inputs. Exactly what you said. There are inputs from so many of you, and that's one tremendous advantage with small group. Having said that, what are the occasions? What are the situations where you will encounter small group learning?
Tutorials. So case study.
Case study.
Tutorials.
Any other tutorials? Yes. Workshops. Wonderful. Any other situation where lab session. Wonderful. Mentoring. Yes. Individual mentoring. Yes. Mentoring. Projects. Yes. Wonderful. Any other? Pardon? Events. Yeah. Events where you have them working in small groups. Any other? Role plays.
We can solve the problem each and every sprint in a small group. We can solve and analyze the problem.
Yeah. So when you need to have a problem to be solved, yes. Great. Any other?
Business plan.
Business plan, yes. Okay. Now, if you really look at the situations where you're dealing with students, which is happening more? The lecture situation or all these things that you mentioned, if you take the sum of all this, which is happening more frequently, more? Lecture. Great. Is the lecture happening more often than all these things? You said so many things, projects, tutorial, seminar, lab. If you take the sum of all this, do you really think lectures are more than all this? Really? Really? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Many regulatory bodies indicate that didactic teaching should be no more than 1/3 of the total contact time with students. Very often they say that. Most of the regulatory bodies indicate that teacher-student contact time, if you take in totality, no more than 1/3 of that should be didactic, meaning lecture should be about 1/3. 70% of your interaction should be all these things that you mentioned. It should eventually happen. But having said that, the skills required for small group learning are very different. And as you rightly said, you may have a situation when you conduct a small group discussion, you may have a situation where you have a teacher, then you have a student, several students. You may have a situation where the teacher-student interaction is structured like this, or it might be a situation where you have teachers and students, and you may have interaction in a random haphazard manner. Which would you prefer? which of these two would you prefer for a small group learning to happen? Second one. All the time. All the time. Will you take the risk of having this?
No. Mostly. Often. Sometimes.
Often. Okay, often. That is, are you going to have this also?
Yes.
That means your skill in conducting a small group discussion is, if you have this, this is defeated. The very purpose of small group discussion is defeated if you are only going to have this structured. If it is unstructured and it remains unstructured throughout, then again it is defeated. Your skill is your ability to move from this to this and to this. You may not announce, but it will happen.
Sir, we have the discussion among students,
Yes.
but the students to teacher direct, not the coming from this discussion, one student to second and then come to teacher.
But you don't you want students to interact amongst themselves? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that is happening.
But finally, that final discussion.
We'll go back to this. Yes, that will be. So, your skill in this, in discussional teaching or discussional learning or small group learning is your ability to move from one to the other. If you have only this, the very purpose of small group discussion, those advantages, those wonderful things that you mentioned, all that is defeated. If you are going to have this and have only this, there is a risk. There is nothing to finalize the agreement. There is nothing to drive home. And you are lost. And the students feel, what is the teacher doing? So your skill is to move from this. So this session is going to focus on what is it that you need to move from one to the other and what are those skills that are required. So the first thing that we have to remember is, in small group discussion, both are required. Structured as well as unstructured. Unstructured, of course, will predominate. We want the unstructured one to happen more frequently. Now I'll give you the first handout related to small group discussion or small group teaching. Yes, yes.
Will it not depend on the subject
Yes.
topic?
It will.
Because sometimes the subject so demands. For example, if I'm teaching chemistry, I don't think there's any need to be, kind of have discussion. It's more informative and knowledge.
Okay.
Most of the time we are giving.
Let me, I think I'm going to answer that in this handout which I've given you. You have asked a very pertinent question. In this particular context, how much will you the maturity of students? Yes.
PG students and graduate something like this.
Okay, let us see. We will, please complete this. If you see the small group teaching, what is written there, discussional method, tightly controlled is what is on the left. Please see that. We have to draw the diagram there. Under that, tightly controlled, draw that structured interaction. Tightly controlled. And on the right, open interchange. That is what I have shown on the right side. That diagram is required. But the most important is the arrow connecting both ways. Most important, that is important. Please connect the two. Your ability to swing from tightly controlled to open interchange, go back as and when necessary. And that's what we are going to see in this session. And now I will respond to that question in a while. You asked a very pertinent question. Is it better for me to detail it this way? In a subject like this, is it possible? We examine that as we proceed. So you should be having under that tightly controlled that diagram. Please come. Yeah, sit wherever. Come, you can join the group. Tightly controlled will have this structured diagram. The open interchange will have the unstructured diagram, and then most important, the arrow connecting the two. Now let's read this. For learning to take place in a discussion, that is a small group situation, more than just talking and listening must be happening. The student must be made to
Open interchange. Open interchange.
Yes, for the student to open up, what must he do before that?
Participate.
For him to participate, what has he to do before that? He must read, but after reading, what must he do so that he can participate?
To interact.
For him to interact, what has he to do?
Inhibition.
Yes, for him to, yes, to get involved, what has he to do before that?
Make to confidence.
Yes, to be able to do that, what has he to do before that? Before he actually says something, what has he to do?
Communication.
He has to think. Yes, he has to think. Yes, basically, you have to make, if he doesn't think, he will not participate. So he has to be made to think.
Think and analyze.
Think. Now, as a teacher, as the discussion leader, to make students think during small group learning or small group teaching, what will you do? You are the discussion leader. You are the teacher. You are leading the small group learning process. What will you do? Take 2 minutes each table to discuss. What activities will you give? What behavior will you exhibit? Just 1 or 2, quickly you write down. Only concentrate on the left side. Don't worry about the right side. The left column. What is it that you will do to make a student think? Keeping in mind the safe learning environment we spoke about. Please discuss on the table. Just come out with 1 or 2 things, each table. You may discuss. An activity you may provide, the behavior that you exhibit. Shall we discuss? It doesn't matter. It's enough. If you have 1 or 2 points, enough. Let me ask you this. One activity that you will give so that students are able to think and participate. Anything. That's fine. But students have come. They are sitting there. I want them to participate. I want them to think. And I want them to contribute. What activity will you give? What? Give a situation. Okay, fine. We'll write. One thing is giving a situation. Situation means some scenario. Scenario or a situation. You give a situation from which they are reading the situation or the scenario. Based on that, they are made to think and they respond. Okay. Then, one.
We will give topic and a description.
Yes.
And then we give some queries and questions.
So you give a quiz or a question related to a, you give the topic and then you post the question.
Description also. But the description will make it.
Okay.
And then
Ask a question. So you have a story and then followed by, that's fine. Fine. Ask it.
Something real life related to this.
Okay. Ask something in real life, but there's a question that follows to that. That's fine. What about it? Describing will not make them think. They will only listen. I want them to participate. I want them to think. So, what will you do? Okay, give a problem and invite their comments. Okay, fine. Invite the comments on a problem that you have presented to them. Wonderful. Look at this. Encouragement. Behavior that you exhibit. What is this encouraging behavior?
Give the space to think. Give the space to think. And
Give the space, but what does encouraging behavior mean?
Hesitation will not be there. He will think at least that nobody is going to judge me.
That means what type of behavior you have to exhibit?
First we will conduct ice-breaking session so that they can.
You make them comfortable. That is, okay, ice-breaking session is
So
fine.
be safe
But
and
they are meeting you for the first time, and that means what? What will you do? What is that behavior that will encourage them to respond?
friendly.
Safe, yes. And that means what? What do you have to exhibit? That is,
Don't be negative, whatever they are saying.
accept whatever. How is it that you are able to respond?
Positive response should be there.
How is it that you are able to respond
Sir,
and give your opinion?
Be the part of the team, as a peer of a team. one of
Yeah.
the member of the team, I should participate as.
Yeah, for you to do that, what type of behavior is expected of the teacher?
Friendly behavior.
Yeah, that's fine. What you said is right. Encouraging. Yeah. Be a listener, be encouraging, be receiving and telling them, no matter what you say, it doesn't matter. I will listen to you and I'm not going to judge you. No, I'm not going to evaluate you. That you must assure them. This is something, creating that environment simply means not being evaluated, not being judgmental, telling them, no matter what you say, that's fine, but I want your response. That is more important than you being right. I just want you to participate. So encouraging, I'm so happy you use that word, encouraging responses. I want some response from you. So that is one. So we had, from this table we had situation or scenario. From this table you had some description and followed by a question. Here you also had a description followed by inviting the comments and encouraging behavior. What else can you do? What is it that will make them think and participate?
Give them a half-complete sentence and ask them to complete.
Yeah, ask them to complete something which you sort of leave as incomplete. That's fine. That is possible too.
Time to time summarize also.
Pardon?
Whatever discussion is going on, time to time summarize also.
If you summarize, they won't participate. I want them to say something. I want them to participate. I want them to think and respond.
So we may show them some visual and ask their views on that.
Yes, trigger. We call that a visual is a trigger. Basically, they see something and ask them to comment on that. So trigger. Trigger can be visual. A trigger can be even audio. You make them listen to something and make them respond. So trigger. So these are all things that will make them think. They see something and they respond. You ask them, what did you see? What do you feel about it? What do you think about it? So trigger. Wonderful. Any other? So we have had several now. Scenarios we saw, case study we saw.
One more can be added, sir.
Yes, encouragement.
In case of a large group, instructors should divide them in a smaller group in a way which is logical. Maybe there might be a possibility that it may be a cross-functional group, or there is a possibility that the group might be heterogeneous, or on some logical basis, instructors should divide them.
Divide them into subgroups. Naturally, yes. That's exactly what has happened here. You have arranged yourself in subgroups, that's fine. And it doesn't matter, some of you have met before, some of you are perhaps meeting for the first time, that's fine. But subgrouping is required, you can't have the entire group seated together, that's fine too. So to make them think, they must be in subgroups, smaller groups. Even though you have 25 or 40, you still have groups of 5 or 6. So that is anything else that you will do to encourage
Provide
action.
some hints.
But
Did it provide some hints?
hint, yes, giving them hints, yes. Even if they don't get your question right and they are little off track, you can give them a hint. You can suggest something. So giving hints, yes. These are all things that will make them think. Any other response?
Avoiding correction to clear.
Correction, if somebody is saying something wrong, then soft correction. Like
Okay. That's good. Yes. So don't correct in such a way that it is insulting or they feel undermined. Yes. In fact, that's easy. Now that you've got the things on the left, you've got several things that
Try
you
to
have
inculcate the cooperation among them. Cooperation.
Yeah.
Cooperation.
Now, what did I do just now? When I gave you an activity, I said, on each table, please discuss. No, if you see the two types of interchange, what happened when I said, on each table, please discuss amongst yourselves and come out with one or two ideas that will make a student think. What was happening? Which was happening? The second one. After that, now it's gone back to the first. See, that is that ability. I did announce that I am now going back to structure. It will happen, automatically it will happen. So, the things that you will do are many. Many things that you will do, give a problem, give a case, give a scenario, pose a question, and most important, encouraging behavior. A behavior that will not be threatening to them. It's not easy because students always have that image of a teacher. He may insult me, I may be ridiculed, I may be snubbed, I might be found fault with. That fear is there. That assurance you have to give. No matter what you say, I will not find fault with you. You can say what your responding is important. Being right is not always important. You can make mistakes, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That encouragement and assurance is the behavior that you'll have to exhibit. And in whatever way you do it, it is something that you must do. The opposites are very easy. Right side. If you see, there are 2 columns there. On the right side is just opposite. If you don't want any thinking to happen, if you don't want any participation, first thing you do is insult them, snub them, destroy the safe learning environment. So the right side is very easy. You don't have to even write it. It's very obvious. So all the opposites of what you have written on the left, you can do. You give a lecture. Nothing will happen. If you give a lecture in a small group, they'll all be quiet, no participation, no thinking, because you are giving a lecture. Don't pose a problem. So on the right side, things which are opposite of what is on the left you can write, but even you don't even have to write. More important is what you should do. We are not worried about what we are not to do. Now I am going to respond to this. When will you choose discussional method? When means, when is a student capable or able to participate in a small group discussion? When?
Once I have completed the topic, the basic idea will.
They have a basic idea once the topic has been completed or they have been introduced. That means what? When is the student ready? That means when is the student ready to participate in a small group discussion?
When they know something.
Towards the end of the lecture, or it may not necessarily be a lecture. It can be. How is it that you people are participating in a session on small group learning? I didn't tell you yesterday, read and come. I didn't tell you anything about this session except you saw it in the program. You didn't come prepared. How is it that you are participating? I gave an introduction, but how is it that you are able to participate, give me inputs, wonderful inputs? How?
Because we gave up same.
Experience. So one is experience. See, one is experience. If they have seen something, if you ask them to tell about a visit they had to a factory, or they are talking about something that they have experienced. So one requirement, you will choose a discussional method when prior knowledge is there. Prior knowledge could be through lecture, through reading, or prior experience. 2 things. And all of you are experienced, all of you have dealt with students, and all that you are telling today is the result of your experience. Everything that you said is your wisdom that is coming from your experience. So, you please remember, when you want to conduct or to organize a small group discussion, the first requirement is prior knowledge or prior experience. It need not be something they have read. You can tell them, did you visit a particular location or an industry? Tell me what you saw. It's easy for them to talk about their experiences and what they have seen, rather than recalling something that they have read. So prior knowledge or prior experience is paramount. You can't go to a class and say, today we will discuss a highly technical topic. Let us have small group discussion. There will be total silence because nobody will know what it is. So be aware. So prior knowledge, prior experience. Another requirement is there. Another requirement, simple requirement. Actually, she hinted at that earlier on. What is required for a small group to be able to work together collaboratively so that
motivation.
Motivation is fine. Something else. Safe learning environment is fine. You have created the safe learning and something else.
Interaction.
If interaction, that is what? Something else.
The problem is there, and there are more than one options to solve that problems, or the problem can be viewed from the different perspectives.
That's fine. And I'll put it differently.
Applications.
New students have come. It is the first week of the classes. Students have come from different backgrounds. They are all there, 15 of them. They have not even met each other. And then you say, let us have small group discussion. What will happen?
Introduction.
You mentioned that. You mentioned that. They have familiarity with one another. It's important. Some amount of familiarity. So prior knowledge, prior experience, and third is, so when you attempt small group discussion, be aware that they must at least be familiar with one another. Otherwise, each one is a stranger. So, some sort of familiarity. That's why you will find that these discussions are much better after a little time. But if you are doing it early, start with a formal introduction so that everybody knows one another. That's important. Then, why choose discussional method? Why is discussional method or small group learning better than lecture? Why is it considered better? Most of the regulatory bodies give a lot of importance to discussional method or small group activities. Why?
Typically analyzes plans
Because of participation.
For generating new ideas.
It helps them to think, involvement, participation. It gives a sense of belonging. Belonging. Because they say, oh, these are my ideas. See, everything that you have written so far, none of these came from me. Everything came from you. I only organized it, gave it some shape.
To break
But-
the monotony.
But yes?
Monotony, breaking the monotony, getting more ideas, different
Correct.
perspectives.
All that. Because that is your involvement and it is a sense of belonging. So basically you choose discussional method because involvement is more. When you get me involved, I may learn more. So involvement is more, the sense of belonging. It is my idea that is coming. These are my thoughts.
Evolution also,
But
you can evaluate them.
what is this?
You can evaluate assess them.
You can, yes, that's true. You can. Orient them, you mean. Yeah, you can.
And it ends with various opinion and ideas.
Yes, and you can consolidate it. You receive all their ideas and then you harness it the way you want it. And that is the advantage of discussional method. Because there is no set way, like a lecture. You mentioned that. Lecture, you are going the set pattern. I'll go only this way. This is what, it is all structured. Everything, nothing can be changed. To some extent you might vary, but you can't change. But small group discussion gives so much flexibility. Ideas are there, you only give it the overall structure. And collaborative learning, yes. So,
More intensive, in-depth learning.
hopefully, that's because of involvement. So, a sense of this, you chose discussional method because there is more involvement.
Their concepts become more clear.
Yes, that's because of interaction and involvement. Because it is their own. Otherwise, they are just clearing it. Now, you're getting involved in the process.
Even a faculty's concept is more refined.
Exactly, yes. Even the faculty can, because you don't go with a set plan. And that is exactly what is said there. See this. Do not stand by your plan too closely. In a lecture, your plan is set. Be allowed to a discussion which contributes to your goal even though you didn't plan for it. Most of these ideas that you have now on the sheet are ideas I had in the back of my mind that you must have. But all these ideas came from you. I didn't tell you the ideas. In a lecture, I gave you the ideas. But in small group discussion, these ideas emerged from the group. And that is the strength of small group discussion. If you are able to get these ideas from the group, involvement is there, sense of belonging is there, and therefore their retention and therefore their remembrance of what they have learned will be more. That is the objective, and that is why it is believed that this is superior. Now, having said that, please remember some students will not participate. Now we are going to say, I'm going to give you another handout, why students don't participate in a small group discussion. They have come. You have told them you have to come for this. So they have all arrived. There are 25 of them sitting there, but some of them will simply not participate. Could be any reason. Take a few minutes on each table to decide why students don't participate. Very quickly, 1 or 2 points you write on each table. That's the next handout. Anything you can do. Anything. You can complete it in Very quickly write the list. Very quickly on each table. Please make a list of causes. Why does a student not participate? I'm going to ask each table now. Can I ask the last table? One reason, just give me one reason why a student, yes, come, he's arrived. Why does he not participate?
Lack of interest.
Lack of interest. Lack of interest. Okay, I'm right. Lack of interest. Okay, this table. One reason why the student doesn't. Lack of knowledge. Okay, lack of knowledge. He doesn't know. Okay, fine.
Not familiar to each other. Not familiar to
Lack
each
of
other.
communication skill. So, lack of, what you're saying is language problem. Yes, okay. Language, some difficulty, yeah, language problem. Okay, language barrier, language problem.
Fear of self.
Okay, a very shy person, yeah. Person is very shy. Yeah, basically, the person is shy, introvert, not wanting to speak on his own. He will not on this table.
Conflicts within the group.
Conflict within the group, but why? So because of, so there is a conflict within the group. Then why does he not participate? That is because of yeah. There is a conflict in the group. Agree. But what is it that is preventing him from participating? Look at it from the student's point of view. Feeling of student is not participating.
Not familiar to each other.
So what happens to him or the person who is not participating? Inferiority, okay, fine. We take it as inferiority complex. Okay, fine. Something that is
Domination.
yeah, dominated by others, but there is inferiority. There is some sort of scared of being ridiculed. That is okay. Scared. Yes.
It's a lack of safe learning environment.
Okay. Lack of safe learning environment. Demotivated here, in a way that is demotivation because all others are dominating and this person cannot speak at all. That means what? That means you are feeling suppressed in some way. Yeah, so you feel suppressed. Yes, okay, fine. Yeah, that is shy. Any other? Distracted, yes. Somebody is distracted with something else, not interested, that's part of that. Distracted. Any other?
Sir, if there is no evaluation, no interest. No evaluation, no interest.
Okay, no interest. Okay, fine. That's fine. Lack of interest. I put it that way. For whatever reason, lack of interest. Any other?
Time of the activity. Time of the activity, whether it is before lunch or after lunch or something. That is a matter or not.
Timing. Oh, timing. Okay, fine. Whether it's before lunch or after lunch. Okay, right. So the timing with reference to fine. Timing of the small group discussion. Any other?
Not familiar to each other. Not familiar to each other.
No familiarity. Yes, they are not familiar. There are several. I am just making a list. Not familiar. Okay. Now let's take each one of them. I just take a few. Let us see. Look at the options below. How are you going to deal? I'll take a few just for us to get an idea. Here is a student. He is not interested for whatever reason, because there is no assessment, because it is not going to count. He has come. He has arrived there. He has attended your session. For you, it is important that he or she participates. What will you do? I want him or her to respond. I want him to participate, what will I do?
Give weightage
Personal
in
interaction and
assessment.
counseling.
Encourage.
Agree, you encourage, but I want him to respond. He is sitting there, he has come, and he's sitting there in the class. He's not interested, but he's sitting there. I want him to participate. What will I do?
High marks and
Assigning
You give him a
weightage.
hint, but I want him to participate. What will I do? You make him a group leader. I want him to participate. I want him to say something. Huh?
I will give a problem. to
You
him.
give him a problem, and I want him to say something. What do I have to do to make him say something? But yes, you know his area of interest. I want him to say something.
Sir, I'll ask his name and say hello.
So when you ask his name, what are you doing?
So ask him a question.
Yes, you ask him a question that he can answer. Obviously, something which somebody has answered, whatever it is, he is sitting there. He has come. You
Give
cannot
weightage
ignore
in
him.
final
He is
assessment.
equally important. You ask him a question. You ask him a question which he can answer. Let's go
Offer
to the next
chocolate.
one. Lack of knowledge. He doesn't know. He doesn't know the subject. He has come, but he is sitting there. Anyway, he has come. He has not read for whatever reason, and you are wanting him. You can't ignore him. You're not read and come, so I ignore him. That's not possible. You have arrived and you're sitting there. I want him to participate.
Make him the subject of the examples which we use in the class.
It's that, but I want him to participate. I want him to get involved in the discussion. I want him to say something. If you want a student who is sitting quiet to say something, to respond, what do you have to do?
So start with knowing his interest.
You can associate, that's fine, but I want him to participate. What do I have to do?
Motivate him and say something, and ask him to say something.
How will you make him say something?
Suppose I ask a student a particular question and he is not answering my question. So I'll again motivate him that you should try to answer it. Suppose still he has not answered that, then say I will ask him, okay, which question should I ask you so that you can answer it related to that particular topic.
Alright, okay, fine. You can ask a question that he will be able
so
to
that
answer.
he can come to the class.
Sure.
Because he is not in the class.
Yeah, very good. Wonderful. You ask him something. We'll take the next one. Let's see. We'll just see. Here is a student who has got a language problem. Some difficulty, maybe he cannot speak in English. He's sitting there. I want his response. I want some response from him. What do I have to do?
I will allow you to
Say, you can allow him, but to allow him to speak, you have to do something that will make him respond. What do you have to do?
Speak yourself
Work
in.
as an interpreter.
Agree, you function as interpreter, but for him to respond, what do you have to
Just
do?
speak yourself in Hindi.
You speak in Hindi, you can speak in Hindi, but for him to respond, what do you have to do?
Make the friendly environment to discuss with student and teacher.
You can share, but for him to respond, what do you have to do?
Make a friendly environment.
Agree, to share all that is fine, but I want him to respond. Ask a question. It is asked. What am I doing now? Ask. If you ask a question, you will get a response. What is happening now? You are all responding because I am going on asking questions. The key to small group discussion is asking questions, the skill of asking questions. And that's the next handout. How do we use questions in small group discussion? Why is it and how is it that you people are responding? Because I am constantly asking you questions. I am questioning you. I am keeping the question on you all the time. And you are responding, giving responses, but I am still questioning you. The skill of asking questions is the skill that you have to master in small group discussion. And that is the most important handout. That is the third handout which is coming to you. How to use questions in small group discussion. If you master the skill of asking questions, you have mastered small group discussion. And that is the essence. If you look at the session itself from the time it started, what have I been doing? Compare this to what I did yesterday when I was giving a lecture. I was all the time asking you. Asking questions is the key. If you ask questions, you have to respond. How is it that you're shouting from there, you're shouting from here, you're shouting from there, and raising your hand and saying this one? When you ask questions, you will get response. And yet, there will be some people who will not respond. In spite of it, it is possible if you ask the right questions, and it is not interrogation. Many times, we convert our questioning to interrogation. Asking question is not interrogation. The student must never feel interrogated. If he feels interrogated, he will no longer feel safe. The safe learning environment is destroyed. Asking question doesn't mean you are humiliating him. And that's the next and most important handout. In small group discussion, the essence is the use of questions. And if you have an approach to using questions, please remember that question is the discussion leader's major instructional tool. It is not a statement. If you make statements, you will get no response. If you ask questions, response will come. It will come. Participator. Basically, some people are wanting to speak, they are willing to speak. Such people, we can't ignore. You say every time you are speaking, you please keep quiet. That is a very bad way of suppressing the person. But he is equally important. What type of a question will you ask a person who you know will respond close? Ask a close-end question. If an over-participator is there, generally who tends to talk a lot, you can ask a close-end question to the individual. Inexperienced or poor instructors, meaning people who have not learned the skill of questioning, they spend most of their preparation time on what they are going to say. Meaning, if normally you go to a small group discussion, you will decide what to say. But really, professionals means people who know what to do in small group discussion. They spend a lot of time on what they are going to question, what they are going to ask. What they are going to ask. In fact, when you go for small group discussion, you please plan your questions. Don't plan your statements. Plan the questions that you will ask. That is the basic difference preparing for a small group discussion and preparing for a lecture. Lecture you will decide, these are statements and then you talk about it, explain it, whatever. Small group, decide what questions I will ask. Make a list of those questions. And that is the essence of small group discussion. If you know how to question, you have mastered the art, and that requires a little bit of skill, a little bit of planning, and plan the questions. The last handout relates to problem conferees. In every group, there will be different types of students. Side conversation, very common. People will be talking to one another. Side conversation, it happens not only in small group, in meetings it happens, side conversation, arguments, different types of people are there. But before I give you the handout, one precondition is there. Safe learning environment. That means you will not insult anybody. The easiest thing for you is to send them out. You will not do that. Everybody is equally important. And please remember, when you conduct a small group discussion, if you antagonize one student, the group sympathy will be with that student. Always. He may be wrong, I may be right. But the moment I humiliate or insult one student, the group sympathy will always be with the student. That means what? When you conduct a small group discussion, is it possible for you to conduct it without destroying that safe learning environment? So this handout, the last handout before we go for tea, looks at 10 problems. I want each table, I tell you which problem each table will handle, and then we will see. But keep in mind one thing, you will not antagonize the group, you will not antagonize the student. You will maintain the safe learning environment, you will not undermine the integrity, the dignity of a student. Not easy. The easiest thing is for us to send him out, but that we will not do. You will do that last. We will not keep that. So keeping that in mind, we will now approach the problem countries. 10 are there might be more, but more or less. 1. Side conversation. How do you deal with side conversation? This table 2. Eager beaver. Always the student wants to answer first. He's not a problem, but we will see. This is 3. Talks too long. A student will talk. Please take 4. Obstinate argue. Please take 5. 5. You take 6. You take 7. Rambler. Rambler is someone who is not focused in answering. He goes on generally talking very irrelevant. 8. Silent member. You may not consider a silent member as a problem, but still, he is silent. He prefers to be silent. Superior being is somebody who thinks he knows everything. He has come and you yeah. So how will you deal with such a student? 10 is joker, very common. We have this problem. Most difficult to manage, yes.
First, the overview separate time
लेकिन इस केस में ऐसा
बाहर नहीं निकालते तो उसकी प्रॉब्लम है आपसे पूछिए
Work this out together. Side conversation, very common. You are conducting a small group discussion. Side conversation is going on. How do you deal with it?
Target individual.
Yeah, you have 3 strategies here. Wonderful.
Discussion type.
Oh, you are going to tell them, you please tell them not, they will be discussing some movie.
Individual target, individual.
Oh, okay, they will not want.
Give extra work to handle. Give extra work to handle.
Close 10 minutes.
Target individual, close-ended discussion. Give extra work.
Okay, these are wonderful video.
Yes. Close-ended over. Assignment, extra work. Assignment.
That's fine, wonderful. Kindly listen to this side conversations. How do you deal with side conversations?
Sir,
see now what is happening with side conversations. Not all side conversations are detrimental. Please remember that. Not all side conversations are necessary. That is part of group discussion. Yes. How we are sometimes very sensitive to side conversations as teachers. Whenever we see somebody talking, we feel it is side conversation. Please remember, side conversation may not relate to anything outside. They might be discussing your own topic. So don't view side conversations as something that goes against. We want side conversations to happen, and that is part of small group discussion. We want that to happen. So allow that to happen, but don't view everything as something that goes against what you are trying to convey. Having said that, if you find when the side conversation bothersome, when is it coming in the way of your small group learning? When it is persistent and when it is distracting. When that side conversation is persistent and it is distracting. So what they suggested is, one is they will ask them to share. Very often they will not share because they may not want to share, may not be shareable information. So one way you can handle it, side conversation generally is not to be, don't get too concerned about it, but if you find it is important to have their attention, one way of handling, of course, you can ask a direct question to them, they will be silenced for some time. But there's one more thing you can do. Side conversation is between who?
Friends.
Friends. Can you separate them?
Yes.
Reorganize. You just say, now we'll have a regrouping. 1, 2, 3. All the ones come here. Twos come. You regroup them. A simple way. Generally, side conversation is between groups. You please regroup them. Just say that we will now have a rearrangement of, generally students will sit with people who are familiar, and the side conversation is between friends. If you can regroup them, suddenly you will find that you are preventing it to a great extent, to some extent. Then of course you can do things which you mentioned, that is asking a question, they will become silent after that, of course, but everybody will know that yes.
So we said that some familiarity is required among participants.
Too much familiarity is usually the cause of side conversation. When you know each other so well, usually. Yeah, so that's good, wonderful. What I'm saying is, it's one thing is don't become too sensitive to side conversation. Allow side conversation, doesn't matter. It's okay. And even if they discuss something else, it doesn't matter. Let there be some activity and some participation. So that's one. Eager beaver is a student who is always wanting to answer. He has prepared and come, you have told him. The student has prepared and come and is ready to answer. How will you respond?
Assign him a task, correct the slips or...
That's true. But here is, what is the student looking for?
So ask him to help others.
Yes.
Show his knowledge. Ask him to help others.
Ask him to help others.
Yeah.
Here is a student who is always wanting to answer. You ask a question, he is ready. Again he is ready. Again you ask a question, he is ready. He has read and come.
Policy, one student can answer only one question.
What do we do? Generally as teachers, what do we do? You'll say, every time you are only answering. Why don't you allow? Don't answer. No more answering for you. We immediately snub the person and the student feels very bad. Because he has read and come, you ask me to read and come, and I want to answer. Generally what happens?
That's why I said policy in the beginning of the class. You should not humiliate anybody by saying that you cannot answer, but if we are making a policy in the beginning of the class that one student can answer
only one question. Yes. We also do one more thing as teachers. You know what? You will say, now I'll ask you one question. Let me see you answer that question. You ask a difficult question, and then after that the student is finished. Why I am saying, generally as teachers, what we do, we try to suppress the student. For reading and coming, you find fault. If you don't read and come, you find fault. And if you read and come and you respond, you say, now I'll ask you one question. Let me see if you answer the question. You ask a tough question, which he or she may not answer. Basically, what he is asking when he is raising his hand, recognition, appreciation. Please give that recognition. At least somebody else will feel, tomorrow I want to get that recognition. You can recognize, you say, wonderful, appreciate that. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You simply say like this and then ask the question to the rest of the group. The moment they have done this, they are so happy with this blessing because they know that I have acknowledged the fact that you know. So when I do like this and ask the question to the rest, he won't answer because he knows I have. There is that recognition. He not always be verbally. Give that recognition. We as teachers, unfortunately, we have an unusual approach. When they prepare and come and answer, we get upset. Or we don't, we say every time you answer. Or we ask a tough question. So, give that recognition. Third one, this table. A student who tends to talk too long. What type of a question will you ask? How will you deal with this? Closed end. Yes, preferably a closed end question. A person who tends to talk too long, you can reserve closed end questions for that. Arguer. This is very interesting. Argument will not happen so much with students. But in meetings it will happen. Somebody will argue with you. Students also argue.
Let's have the group opinion and then...
Wonderful. How did you listen to what he said? Argument. How will you deal with arguments? Very, very common. How do you deal with arguments in a small group discussion?
And he always argue in a against way.
Yeah. So what do you do? Argument is against whom?
We can make it a debate.
Argument is against whom generally? Against the authority. You give up your position of authority. You say, my opinion is not important. Here is something that is being said. What do you feel? I pass it on to you. You fight. I will pass it on to somebody else. Basically, you deal with arguments by bouncing the argument. Meaning, you say that I am not important. I am only facilitating the discussion. Let us see what the group feels. What is your opinion? What is your opinion? You pass it on. Pass it on to the group. If you do this, most of the time, the argument is generally against the position of authority. You give up that position of authority. You say that my opinion is not important. What do you feel about it? What do you feel about it? Pass it on. Passing it on to the group. Wonderful. Pass on that argument to the group. You don't get involved in that. Somebody will say something which will be the answer that you want to give. That time you intervene and say, yes, see, that's exactly what we want. So when somebody says that, that's the time you intervene and say, yes, let us all appreciate what he has said. This is exactly what we want. The whole thing is done. Basically what you are saying is you are not antagonizing the group. 5, we have seen wrong or outlandish comment. Wrong response has come from the student. Which table is doing this? 5? Yes. Wrong response.
You are right, but maybe it is considered in some other context.
Yeah. Okay. Can you do something else? A wrong answer has come. I want to do something else. You don't respond at all to that. Can you do something else? Throw it back to somebody else. You say, this is the response given. What do you feel about it? So, it's easier, it's better that somebody else says you are wrong rather than my telling you you are wrong. The student will not feel so offended because friend only is telling that you are probably not giving the right answer. When the teacher says it, naturally they feel bad. So, pass it on to the rest of the group. 6, this very often happens. 6, who's doing 6? Yes. Yeah. So, grind zone access, they talk something which is not relevant to the topic you are discussing that. Very often it happens.
The same one answer maybe they just give them
pass it on to somebody else. Is it for discussion? Yeah, you can pass it on to the others. The single important skill that you need to have when dealing with problem conference is your ability to pass on the problem to the group. Most of the time you can handle it. Pass it on to the group. Somebody in the group will give you the answer. You don't give the answer. The moment you give the answer, it looks as if you are suppressing it. Rambler is a person who this group is handling, a person who doesn't answer in a focused way. You ask something, the person goes on talking irrelevantly. How do you?
That we can say now that try to filter the key points. We'll allow the student to speak. We'll try to filter the key points from the student's response, and accordingly we'll bring the student in the same time of conversation.
Sure.
We can even ask the student to write an essay on a particular topic. He can come.
That's fine, right? Yes. But what type of a question would you prefer to ask? Closed end, yes. Preferably, if you know the person is a person who tends to talk irrelevantly, ask closed end questions. How about silent member? Now, my question to you is a silent member a problem? No. Just because he is silent, don't view him or her as a problem. Some people are basically very silent. Let us not go on needling them unnecessarily. A silent member is not a problem. Even a shake of the head, a nod of the head is enough for us. But if you consider that person is not participating at all, how will you handle it?
First, we'll make him comfortable by asking the question up to his or her level so that he can explore the area of his or her interest, and only then we will come to the topic of the debate or discussion.
Okay, fine. But the silent person wants to be silent. I want his. Do you consider him? You can ask a closed question, but don't needlessly expect that person to change. You can't expect. In every group, there will be different types of people. Accept them as they are. So let them feel comfortable. What you said is very right. They must feel safe. And they are safe when they are quiet. They don't want to talk too much. That's fine. I accept you as you are. Please don't find fault with them. We often, as teachers say, you are always quiet. You never speak anything. Every time don't open your mouth. The moment you say that, they feel so bad. So that's important. Make them feel safe even if they are quiet. Even a yes or a no is more than enough. And if at all you want to ask them, close 10 questions. So 9 is a variation of silent member. Superior being. Somebody who thinks all that is happening is not for me. I'll come here for whatever. How do you deal with such a person?
First we assess which kind of the superiority he is showing, whether the communication is very good, he is speaking very well. Sometime, otherwise,
Yeah.
or is really showing his talent in the class.
Yeah.
Second thing, I will personally counsel him outside the class.
You can talk to him outside. If at all he is a problem, very often they have an issue, but if they are only appearing like that, don't worry too much. But if you have to talk to them, if anything that has to be given as advice, do it in private. That's the only thing. And that actually brings us to the last one, joker. How do you deal with a joker is very common. Somebody who wants to, what is the purpose of a joker? Similar to the seeker. Attention seeker. Yes, basically an attention seeker. You can ignore him, but he can be a disturbance. He can persistently disturb your class.
Close-end discussion with an individual target.
Focus.
Focus on the particular person.
Please remember, jokers are sometimes.
You will make a joke of that.
Union leaders. No, remember, these jokers are generally people who are union leaders. They are very popular. They are able to. Please remember that. And dealing with jokers, you have to be a little careful. While you allow a little bit of joking,
Additional counseling is.
you may have to talk to them in private.
Yes.
Deal with these people in private. Never humiliate them in public. The moment you do that, you have antagonized the class. Anything that you want to do in terms of advising, counseling, please do so in private. It makes a big difference and they will respect that. You can tell the student, I am choosing to speak to you in private. I didn't want to do it in front of all your friends because I didn't want you to feel bad. They will always and forever be grateful to you for that. So please remember, joker is not a problem. Some amount of light-hearted things, but if it is distracting, you will have to speak to them in private. These are some. Please remember, most of the problems are actually in our mind. We only view it as a problem. The discussional method is not a bull session or a free session. There must be a predetermined outcome already established in your mind. What is it that you want them to learn? How did I discuss small group teaching today? What did I do today? How did I get all those ideas that I wanted across to you? Through questions. What are these handouts? Is this different from the usual handout? What's the difference? It doesn't, not questions. It contains only some keywords. Rest of it you have to complete. These are called as programmed notes or programmed handouts. This requires your participation in If someone says, I am not attending the session of small group discussions, give me the handout. You can give these 4 pages. It will make no sense to anybody. Because it's only when you participate, get involved. These are called program notes. In that way, I was able to sequence what I wanted. And whatever I wanted was there, except that we generated these responses from the group. How did I conduct the session? Did I give a lecture on small group teaching? No. What did I do? Most of the time it was questioning. Most of the time. I was clarifying once in a way, but most of the time it was questioning. And that's what made you all
involve everybody. You gave the problem and then asked everybody to involve.
Yeah, involve everybody. Essentially it is the skill of questioning. So that is the last one. Use questions rather than statements to handle problems, confrontations, arguments, and hostility. If you have mastered the skill of questioning, question, and you will get response in small group discussion. The texture of small group discussion is determined by the way you ask questions. And if you know these 2 types of questions and 2 targets of questions, you will know when to use it and it will come to you naturally. Thank you so much. Let's have tea.
Is everything fine? Are you okay? Are you comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay? Thank you so much. Just yesterday we were strangers. But look at the magic. Almost in one day, you have come so close. The way you're responding, the way you're interacting, the way you're shouting, you're making so much of noise. And this is ultimate miracle. Ability to make that noise in my class There is so much of healthy noise. It's beautiful. And that shows, that very clearly demonstrates that learning is possible. Learning is possible and learning is happening, am I right? Learning is happening. Thank you so much. But how this is possible? The way you are participating, the way you are interacting, absolutely no hesitation. Openly, nicely, freely, you are able to participate. How this is possible? When this is possible? When you feel safe. Because I must make you feel safe. Then you will see the magic. It happens. It has to happen. It has to happen. But when I can make you feel safe? Ultimate task, ultimate miracle, ultimate force which binds all of us. What is that force? Wherever you go, if you are able to take that force with you, and as a parent, and as a teacher, as a friend, I am supposed to offer that. This offering is whatever simple thing you have, whatever you have, and then you have to offer it. Miracle happens. He offered me in a remarkable way, in a simple way. He had his breakfast. He offered me his breakfast. Without any planning. He never planned it, right?
I didn't get time to have breakfast, that's why I was late.
And that offering had no plan.
And I was hungry. I took my medicine.
But in a simple way, whatever you have, when you offer it, that offering is never ever planned. It should not be a grand affair. Of course, we are compassionate parents, and sometimes we plan so much so that I can offer to my son, to my daughter, to my wife, to my friend, my student. Offering is very simple. At this point in time, whatever you have, you simply offer. Don't expect, you don't have to please, you don't have to impress. No expectation. That point of time you feel so good, you simply offer. आपके पास जो भी है, are you following? That giving is the most sacred, most divine, most powerful thing. Nothing else matters. My ability, without expecting anything, I simply give. And the way you give, that innocence, that charity, that closeness. But what's that I can give? In fact, hands are empty, mind is empty, heart is empty. What I can give to you? I want to give, but I very clearly see I can't give you anything. I'm right. Please ask yourself, what is that you can give? To a person who is very close to you, of course you are given birth. That's the ultimate thing. You are given life, that's the ultimate thing. And that woman, the womb, you know, that womb, Garbha, we call it Garbha. Remarkable name, Garbha, Garbha Gudi. It's a place in Garbha, Garbha Gudi. A small place, a dark place, but a place where creation happens. You know what's the most safest place on this earth? Where you can read, you can live, you can laugh, you can enjoy, you can be silent. Absolutely no problem, no difficulty, no suffering, no misery. A woman's womb, my mother's womb. 9 months you were there. Those 9 months were the most beautiful, most precious, most remarkable months. You are so sound, you are so safe, because that mother, you see, mothers are created. And the mother gave you everything without asking. Whatever she had, her blood, her essence, her sense, her breath, her life, everything was given, right? This is the most important, most remarkable thing is that place where you are created. And those 9 months are the most beautiful months. Unfortunately, you are not aware. Consciously you are not aware, but you are always subconsciously aware of that. That's why we call it as Garbha Gudi, because when you enter the temple, you are supposed to feel very safe. Am I right? That's why it's called as Garbha Gudi. But unfortunately, this life, this classroom, my home, my world, this earth was like a Garbha, where you feel totally safe. But look at us. Every single thing you are destroying. Your home is no longer feel safe. This earth is no longer safe. Anything is possible. Alright? So ultimate task for a teacher is you give in such a way, whatever you have you simply give. And what I can give to you? What is the ultimate thing you can give to you? Giving is not easy. In fact, receiving is most difficult. Receiving is not easy. You must give in such a way that I don't even realize that I have received something. Because when you try to give, it shows your arrogance. Sometimes. because you feel you are giving and I am receiving. But always that arrogance is always there for teachers, because I think I am giving and you are supposed to receive. You must give in such a way that they don't even realize that they are receiving. But what is that I can give to you? So that I can make you feel safe. Not easy. Not easy at all. In spite of whatever I say, whatever I do, still suspicion can be done. Still doubt can be there. Still inhibition can be there. Not easy to come very close. Even that closeness sometimes hurts. So what is that I can give? A simple session before we break for lunch. Very simple sessions. Exceedingly simple, but a very practical session. Ultimately, I can make you feel safe where I trust you or where you trust me. Trust is ultimate. Right? Trust is ultimate. But is it possible to trust? Are you willing to trust? Are you capable of trust? Do you have the capacity to trust? Do you want to trust? Is there one person in this world whom you can trust? Absolutely, totally, completely. Can you trust a person? One person on this universe whom you can totally trust. Because trust is always absolute. Trust is always absolute. Either you trust or you don't. You can't say 50-50. All wonderful things, all good things are always absolute. Love is always absolute. Either you love me or you don't love me. You can't say I almost love you. Goodness is always absolute. And they are good people. I remember a story, remarkable story. Pardon me, a stupid story. You may think this is a stupid story, but this is the ultimate story. There used to be a teacher, remarkable teacher, wonderful teacher. One beautiful morning he was standing in the river, and the river was flowing in great force. And this man was offering holy water to the holy sun because he was feeling so safe. He was so thankful for this life, for this breath, for this blood, for this breathing. In great gratitude, he was offering holy water to the holy sun. But suddenly he sees one bichu. What is bichu? A bichu can. A bichu was being carried away by the force of the water. And bichu was about to be killed by the force of the water. This man suddenly sees the bichu. In his goodness, he picks up bichu in his naked hands. Because this man wants to kill the bichu. Bichu is a bichu. What is the nature of bichu? It's dry. It can be so poisonous. It can be so painful. You don't understand this man is trying to save his life. It stings. So much of pain. This man's heart starts shaking and bichu falls back to the river. This man again picks it up. It again stings. It again falls back. It again picks. It again stings. Again falls back. Again picks. Again stands. Again. Hand is full of blood. Hand is full of pain. But this man won't allow the bichu to be killed. Stupid fool. Idiot. They stand next to him, looks at him, the man stands next to him and says, look, Dimanu, ghost, you want to save the bichu. Poisonous creature. Don't you understand the nature of bichu is poisonous? You want to save the bichu, destroy it, kill it, smash it. Don't understand? You want to save the bichu. Don't understand the nature of bichu is poisonous? Remarkable story. This man smiles and says, I understand the nature of bichu is poisonous, but my nature is absolutely. Very difficult story. If you ask me what you are trying to communicate, you expect that I will save all the bichus? I have to save myself, man. What are you telling? Save the bichus. But life is very strange. Pardon me. Pardon me. I don't want to make this statement, but I have to make this statement. My own father, my own mother, my own brother, my own spouse, my own child, my own colleague, my own student can become bichus. You can become a bichu, I can become a bichu. So what do we do? I can create so much of problem for you. I can make your life miserable. Every single day I can hurt you so much. I won't even allow you to die. You should not die, but you must suffer. That's exactly what you do. You live in hell. I live in hell. What do you do? What do you do? I can eat your flesh. I can drink your blood. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You are blessed. You are blessed. You are blessed. Just imagine, look at the people. the son, they kill the child, they kill the parents. Ruthlessly. Do you know what must have happened to them to reach that state? But they finish everything. Because they see only one solution. I must finish, I must end, I must die. That's ultimate. Because life is most sacred. Life in a plant, life in an ant, life in a bichu, life in you, life in me. You can't take that life. But where we live, we see what is wrong with us? We have become so violent. I am coming. Trust. Can you trust? Can you trust a bichu? I'm not joking. You see, you can't change people. How you respond? How you deal? What is that to do with the kind of bichus? Do you have the capacity to live with people? All kinds of people. I'm not saying, I'm not blind. Don't find it fault. I don't know what's wrong with them or what's wrong with me. Cunning, manipulative, aggressive, ambitious, ruthless. Am I right? That's why you're so hesitant to become soft. Because you very clearly this, if you become soft, this world will destroy you. Am I right? That's your fear. Am I right? Because you very clearly see the nature. I will speak so many things. But you see the real, practical nature of this world. If you're really kind, if you're really soft, if you're really gentle, if you're really good, this world will screw you. One man who said, love, and that man was crucified. He was crucified. If you are too good, you'll be crucified. Are you willing for crucifixion? Not easy. It's one thing to speak good things, important things, philosophical things. But when it comes to practical living, I follow you. That's why trust has become impossible. You want to trust, but you cannot trust. You have been so good, you have trusted so many people. And what happened to your trust? Every single person has deceived you. Am I right? Your own people, your close people, they have used you. Pardon me. They have used you. They have manipulated you. They have played with your emotions. Your difficult, delicate, tender feelings. And now we have become a little hard. Fine. Now we have become harsh. Fine. But the only process is when you become hard and harsh, you become isolated. You can't touch, you can't feel, you can't relate, you can't rest. You start feeling very lonely in this planet. You start feeling very lonely. You sing with people, but you're still lonely. Because you lost that beautiful capacity to trust. Please understand one simple nature. Whatever you do, people will deceive you. But still, I will only trust. It looks as idiotic, but you can't do anything else. Either you deceive, or you say, I will, whatever may happen, whoever, the whole world may go against me, everybody can deceive me, but I will only trust. सुख में तेरे साथ चलेंगे, दुख में वो मोड़ेंगे, दुनिया वाले तेरे बनकर तेरा ही दिल तोड़ेंगे, देते हैं भगवान को धोखा, इंसान को क्या छोड़ेंगे, गजबे वाले क्या वफा सब बातों का कोई नहीं है कोई किसी का, नाते हैं ना हो. You have reached a state, it's the most difficult state while you are living. You lost everything. You lost everything. You lost everything. Somehow you survive, somehow you breathe, somehow you live, somehow you laugh. I'm not joking. This is not a way to live, man. This is not a way to live, you see. And the way you must live, the naturally, without any fear. That fear is ultimate. And freedom from that fear is most essential. The basic function of education, if you ask me, is to go beyond that fear. Fear is creating a problem. Alright? Every single fear must be understood. Something may happen to me, my family, my wife, my son, my daughter, my prestige, my health, my future, my fate, my destiny, my old age, my disease, my security, my hope. People may laugh at me. Doesn't matter, let them laugh at you. So many fears are following you. This comes very clearly. That fear is suffocating you, taking away all your joy. One fear is enough, and it comes from you. And it's so easy to scare you. Pardon me. It's so easy to scare you, right? If I have some power, some prestige, some position, it's so easy to. You are all scared, man. You're all scared, man. That's why you become slaves. This is not the way to live, you see. Are you following me? You must live. Stand straight. Look at Buddha, beggar, you see. Don't ask for any prestige. Don't ask for any power. Don't ask for any position. That's how this world traps you. Alright? Otherwise, nobody can trap you. Nobody can make you a slave. You are willing to become a slave. This fact must very clearly see. This fact must very clear. Success is not important. But unfortunately, what happened to me is I don't see. I'm not able to see. Three things are important. Satya, Asatya, Mithya. Satya, Asatya, Mithya. Satya, the truth you must see. You must accept. You must leave. You must speak. Asatya, you must see Asatya as Asatya. False as false, truth as truth. And the most difficult thing is Mithya. What is Mithya? What's Mithya? Mithya is a young fellow, small fellow, innocent fellow, nice fellow, good fellow. And my home used to be next to beach. Every single day I go to the beach, and having gone to the beach, most remarkable creation. That sand, that sky, that shore, those waves, that color, that joy, that fascination, those sands, my God. And in my joy, I used to pick up pebbles. I will pick up pebbles because I thought they were priceless diamonds. After I will pick up them, I will pose them very close to my heart because I thought they are diamonds. It took me several years. My grandmother, I always remember that lady, remarkable lady. A simple woman, was born in a village. She lived in that village, she died in that village. Absolutely illiterate. She never went to school. But she was the most intelligent woman. One day she comes to me and she says, Sudhakar, don't get disturbed. Don't feel bad. What you are collecting are not diamonds. They are stupid pebbles. I was shattered. I was totally devastated. Pardon me. 60, 70, 80 years, you work so hard, you struggle so hard, good people. On 5 morning, you suddenly went up, you got up and cut your hands. 80 years, 100 years, what you have gathered are not diamonds, are stupid. It's exactly ultimate insult, ultimate. You can very clearly see what you have gathered. Whole life has gone waste. Collecting stupid. This is Mithya. Pebbles appearing as diamonds. That's why Buddha, poor man, you see, he had everything. Wealth, kingdom, women, wife, power. He had everything. Because he very clearly saw everything was there. Of course, he was a very courageous man. Not easy. I'm not saying that he must give up everything. Don't do that. You can't do it, first of all. It's impossible to do it. But it's a beautiful way to live. Please understand, he is not asking that he must wear a langot. Not essential to wear a langot. But what he is communicating is a remarkable thing. Please see the real diamond. Please gather real diamonds. But don't run after it. Our life is gone waste. Look at these people whom you adore, whom you worship. They only live with pebbles. Your prime ministers, your chief ministers, your CEOs, your Bill Gates, pardon me. This is the paradox. You expect your son, your daughter to become what do you want them from them? You give birth to them, you take care of them, you love them so much. What is that you ultimately want them? As a really compassionate parent. in a beautiful way, simple way, in a happy way. That's only possible for a Buddha. But very strange things. You never ask everybody wants to become, his son, his daughter wants to become Bill Gates. And what is Bill Gates? Remarkable man, very simple man, this man. But please understand one fact, see one simple truth. Bill Gates can never be the way happy the way Buddha is happy. See the paradox. You expect your son, your daughter must be happy, eternally happy, beautifully happy, joyfully happy. Even in death, they must be happy. And that's not possible for Buddha. You see the paradox? You want them to live like Buddha, but you don't want them to become Buddha. This is the paradox. It's the most difficult value, it's the most difficult concept. Education will not resolve our problems. They are miserably failed. In fact, in the name of education, we are making aggressive people, ambitious people, haughty to be. Am I correct? Am I correct? You give birth to your son, you give birth to your daughter, and you do the most stupid thing, you send them to a school. I'm not joking. The school destroys all originality, all creativity, all innocence. I'm not joking. Please look at the world. People have done very creative things, original things. Most of them have never went to school. I'm not saying that I'm not going to I'm not saying that you must not send to school, but this fact was very clear. Don't be that arrogant about your qualification, your degrees, your university systems. But this world is becoming more difficult. You can't educate your child without destroying innocence. So 2 questions you must ask yourself. First, before you get married, please think. Not an easy task, not an easy choice. One marriage can destroy all your joy. They're stuck now, they can't come up, that's a problem. It's a very difficult, destructive system. You have a tremendous understanding wisdom to live with your wife and smile with your life. Aapko kya ho gaya? And then you want the men, not the women. Okay. Second thing, even if you happen to marry, please ask you. Most important is before you give birth to a child, you have to ask yourself whether I am able to educate the child by myself. A very important question you must ask yourself. In the hands of right education, are you able to give that intelligence? Intelligence live in this world like Buddha. We'll speak about that, but trust is most essential. Very, very simple session. What is this trust? Because basically I want to speak of our teachers. Teaching is ultimate blessing. Provided you teach the right things in the right way. Buddha is the ultimate teacher. Not easy. You are shouting. He miserably failed. Not that way. At least you are little blessed because you was able to reach many people. But very difficult. So what is this trust? Ultimate diamond. Ultimate diamond in life. What is great trust? A very simple session called as Heart Sutra. What is heart? Heart is all about what? Heart is all about trust. Your heart can beat only when you get trust. How do you create trust in a relationship? And any relationship. Father and son, mother and daughter, husband and wife, teacher and student, doctor and patient, and any kind of relationship. Trust is most essential. You agree with me? Because when you trust, you feel safe. A very simple Heart Sutra is what? Sutra is what? Sutra means what? A formula, a simple formula to create trust. Okay. So Heart Sutra is a simple session, a very simple session, but a very practical session. Very practical session. Because Buddha is a very practical man. He is a philosopher, but a very practical man. He understands the basis, life basis words. He does right things, right action. How do you create trust? A very simple formula. Trust can be created U plus C plus A plus M plus L. If you do these 5 things, simple things, very practical things, you can create trust in any relationship. But first of all, you must really create trust. If you don't want to create trust, it's fine, no problem. But if you really want to create trust, these 5 things may be essential. U, C, K, M and L. So what is U? Oh my God, look at this man, oh my God. He has answers for everything. But what is this understanding? One thing, most basic need, most basic expectations is I expect that you must understand me, I must understand my perception, my thoughts, my problems, my fears, my anxieties, my needs, my expectations. Please, please understand me, please. Please. Understanding is the most essential. Any relationship, any trust is only possible when I understand you, when you understand me. Most basic need. But do you think any person in this world who can understand you? It has one soul, one spirit, one shoulder. Who can understand you?
So at times me myself cannot understand.
Yeah, that is, oh my God, then how I can understand that? Very difficult, very difficult. Very difficult. But what is understanding? What do you mean by understanding? Be very clear. What is understanding? Excellent. I want to understand myself. Then only possibly I can understand you. Excellent. It always must begin here. I must trust myself first. I must love myself first. I must know myself first. I must understand myself first. Then maybe you can attempt to understand this world. What is understanding? ये क्या है जी? Understanding क्या है? इसका मतलब क्या है?
Synchronization of thoughts.
Synchronization of thought. You expect that I must think the way you think. The same thoughts, the same expectations, the same perceptions.
Most of the time.
Really? Oh my God. आप कहाँ से आए हैं जी? You are making me obedient. You don't want to understand.
It's
You want
vice
a-
versa, sir.
Huh?
It's vice versa.
Really? No, I never wanted to make obedient. I want to give all the freedom. आपके जो मन में आता है, जो भी जैसे करते हैं, जो भी कीजिए.
But there should be agreement of the thoughts, sir. No.
Why I must agree with you? I will share you, I will tell you, but I don't have to agree with you. Should I agree with you?
It's your wish, sir.
Huh?
It's your wish.
But I don't want to agree with you. What will do with you? Nothing? Oh, you? Oh my God, what are you saying?
It's completely your thoughts, sir. You are the master of your thoughts.
But you said thought was synchronized.
Synchronization तो किसी भी ढंग से हो सकता है, sir.
हो सकता है?
Yes, sir.
आपने ट्राई किया है?
Many times.
But you visibly failed.
No, I don't, sir.
अरे यार, आप कहाँ से आए हैं? So I understand. It's a blessing. It's very good to do that. Miracle. But untimed, many times. I find it very difficult. You understand what she's saying? It's fine. It's fine. But one thing you must understand, if I don't agree with you, what to do with me? Your values, your thoughts, your beliefs, I never got them. But my life, in the sense my wife, she's my life. She's so close to God, in the sense, her day begins with this, her day ends with that. I never.
Sir, it may be a part of this
I'm just
synchronization
giving a
of
small
thought.
example.
It may be a part of this understanding synchronization of thought.
No, but if we happen to meet like this, if we have to live with this, I'm totally against your belief. I'm not a bad man. I'm not a bad husband. You understand me? But I'm not willing to agree what you agree so deeply. What's so close to your heart, I'm not agree. I mean, it happens, no?
Yes.
It happens, no?
Yes.
Your values, your beliefs can be totally different from. I'm not saying I'm against you, but they may be.
So respecting the feelings.
Yeah, I want to, but I'm not able to respect it. Because I very clearly see what I have so respecting for me, you don't respect it. Then what happens to me?
People are poles apart, but since the synchronization is possible.
That's your big heart. That's your big heart. All of may not have that big heart. You see. Are you following me? Will you give the freedom to differ from you? इतना बड़ा दिल है आपका. Are you following me? Not easy. Not easy. Because I wish that what I feel, you must also. But is that understanding? What is understanding?
I see things from your perspective, even if I don't agree.
Awareness.
All see, but what happens at the ground level? What happens at the
Understanding the need of others, each other. Need
I
of
must
others.
understand. We'll do a small game, is it okay? To understand about. Now games are very powerful learning tools. Games are very powerful. And we must use some games. Okay. We'll play a small game, very interesting game. The name of the game is called as Guess the Age. What is the name? What is the game? Guess the Age. Very interesting. especially for my men friends. Yes, see? I have pictures of 4 ladies. I have pictures of 4 ladies. I am going to show the pictures. You must look at the pictures and you must guess what will be the age of the. Are you cooking, sir? Shall we start? Very interesting game, very simple game. I am going to show you pictures of 4 ladies. You must look at the picture and guess what will be the approximate age of the ultimate, most difficult task. Taking it. Simple saying. What an understanding, right? What is it? Now with it, you go. Let's start the game. I request all of you, please stand facing each other like this. आमने सामने. यहाँ से यहाँ तक. Please come. Fast, quick. सब खड़े हो जाइए. ऐसे. One line here, ऐसे. Very good. 2 लाइन ऐसे आमने सामने. ऐसे. हाँ इधर से. ऐसे. Very good, excellent. Thanks so much. Shall we play the game? Excellent. First, I should tell the game. Rules are first picture I'm going to show to this group. First picture to this group. Look at the picture and guess what will be the age of the lady. Approximately. Don't tell your friend. Keep to yourself. I will come and I'll find you later. Okay. Second picture I'm going to show to this group. Again, look at the picture and guess what will be the age of the lady. Okay. Third picture again to this group, and the last picture to. That means each one of you will be seeing 2 pictures. Both times you must guess what will be the age. Am I clear? Are you ready? Shall we play the game? Wonderful, excellent. Very good, very well. Just guess what will be the age of the screen. Just guess what will be the age of the screen. First picture the second group. Just guess what will be the age of the screen. Okay. Uncle K. Second picture of the first group. Again look at the picture and guess what the age of the lady. Second time. दोबारा देखा था क्या? Last picture, second group. Okay, thank you so much. First picture. Approximate what age of first picture? 10 years, excellent. Around approximately 15. First lady. 20, 15 times. 15, 16, 18, 20, 21. Very good. Most of them are relatively young lady. First picture. 50, 60, around 80, very good. 30, 50, 40, 75, very good. 70, 35, 80, 70, 75. Very good. Few exceptions, most of them are old, relatively old lady. Second, old or younger old, second. Yeah, 18, second, 20, 25, 20, yeah, 37. 25, again,
75, 50.
Very good, very interesting. Same picture I showed.
Third one, na?
Second one,
75.
Very interesting. He is saying 75. All of them said young. He is saying, from second picture. 75. 6. Old picture. 80, 85, 70, 50, 30. Very good, excellent. Summary, with few exceptions, they saw both the types relatively young lady, am I right? Young lady. This group, both times, with few exceptions, saw a elderly lady or old lady. Okay, am I clear? Now this is very interesting. In fact, I had only 3 pictures. First pictures were different, but second picture was same. Am I right? All of you saw the same picture for second time, am I right?
Yes.
Please tell, young or old?
Young.
How is possible then? Either it must be young or it must be. What is this? Please don't confuse me. Please tell me. Please tell me. Finally, you must tell me. Do you see really young or do you see old? I will give pictures to all of you. Okay? Please. Most essential. Please discuss to each other, talk to each other. But you please finally tell me. Finally, you tell me. Do you see young or do you see old? Please. Each one of you must have this picture. Please look at the picture carefully and finally tell me. Do you see young or do you see old? Abhi, please. Please, सब लीजिए, सबको talk to each other.
दोनों हैं ये तो वो है ना सर, बुड्ढी है, यंग का है। ये तो ये वाले से देखो ना तो आप भूल जाएगी, यंग का चेहरा है। अच्छा,
Do you see young or do you see old? He's saying there are 2 pictures. Really? Both young and old? Huh?
Yes, both.
Huh?
Both.
Really?
Both.
Really?
Yeah. जो मैंने देखी थी, आप देखो, हम क्यों छुपाएंगे बाल तो उसके आगे आते हैं, नाक आगे है, इस तरफ से देखो, ये थोड़ी दिख रही है, इस तरफ से
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Can you see both? Can you see both? Excellent. Please आराम से बैठ जाइए. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
सबको ही चक्कर में डाल दिया भाई
अब साइड से देखो ना, ये
Thank you so much. 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 What a remarkable game. Very powerful game. But what is game? I don't understand. I played basically this game. I don't understand. Correct?
उसका रीजन है लेडी में लग रही था,
What is game of misunderstanding? game, very interesting game. But what is game I could understand?
How do you look?
Your perception.
Very first thing. But apart from that, what is helping to understand? You have to agree with me. I am very clearly I showed. It is possible that in a simple picture you can see both young and old, almost opposites, am I right? It is possible that in a simple picture you can see both young and possible, no? Possible, no? Possible, no? If it is possible to see both young and old in a simple picture, is it not possible in real life about any matter, about any belief, about any argument, about any matter that he also can be right, I also can be right? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Yes or no? Yes. Well, now you say yes. Practically what happens? Who must be right? Who must be right? I must be right. How he can be right? How he can be right? I must be right. How can I must be right? He must be? Oh, you must be always wrong. And I must be always right. You cannot be right. I cannot be wrong. You must be wrong and I must be? Understanding is so simple. I was so happy. You please go to him and ask him. I am seeing old lady. Gaurav. I am seeing old lady. I really don't see young lady. You might have seen young lady, but I see old lady. I get very upset. And I am seeing old lady. What he's saying is, he's saying, that is what? You want to fight with me? You want to argue with me? You want to irritate me? Whatever I have to say, you have to say opposite. But just like my wife. Understanding is so simple, giving the space, the time, that opportunity, that patience, that understanding, he also can be correct. Such a simple thing. You have to give them space, that private space, that personal space, that intimate space, that warm space. You please ask him. No, I'm not seeing young lady, I'm seeing only old lady. I want to understand, I want to know. Please दिखाओ यार मेरे को दिखाओ वो अरे यार माफ करना यार बहुत भूल हो गई यार मैं समझा नहीं यार मैंने सोचा ओनली ओल्ड लेडीज मैंने देखा नहीं यार अरे यार भूल हो गई यार माफ करो यार एंड यू टेल हिम ओल्ड भी है ये देख यार मेरे यार ये देख ये नाम है ये बोर्ड है I was feeling so wonderful, you see, you are able to take to each other without any problem. You are telling me, they were all telling, अरे यार देख and follow me. Understanding is so simple, man. Your capacity, your capability to sit with the person. You are correct. First, I must sit with the person. You may differ from me. You may totally differ from me. You may not agree with me. You may fight with me. You may battle with me. You may go against me. But still I will sit with you. And I must ask you. I must have that tremendous energy to ask you. Tremendous humility to ask you. आप ऐसा क्यों बोल रहे हैं? What's wrong with you? What's the problem with you? Or is the problem with me? I don't see the way you see. This is what I see. This is what I see. This is what I believe. This is what I want. I don't see. I don't understand your point. I don't understand perception. Will you please clarify? Will you please tell? Will you please show? I follow you. That is understanding. And please understand. Ultimate respect is giving the person his right for his own perception, his own belief. The way he wants to live, you please permit. Of course, you may want help him, you may want support him, but first of all, you have to give the freedom. That's exactly what we go wrong. You see, my young son, my young daughter, my young student, they want to live the way they want to live. But you never allow them that freedom. Of course, I understand your concern, I understand your fear, but they're young men. And we destroy that beautiful spirit to something original, something creative, something artistic, something poetic, something different. We never allow people to become different. We want them to become mediocre. Alright? We want them to be respectable. That respectability, the curse. Because you have fear, because when they don't become respectable, they become insecure. Insecurity is the biggest wound, man. All originality is only possible when you become insecure. Because when you become too secure, you can't do anything. You become mediocre. You start rotting. You become stagnant. You start stinking. That's exactly what's wrong with us. In your person, you become too secure. You are destroying your joy, your originality, your creativity, your life. Respectability is the curse. I follow you. This was very clear. clearly see. I'm not saying that you have no right to differ from him, but please, at least sit with him. Who is he? Who is he? After all, he may be your son, your wife, your father, your mother, your student. But you never sit with that person. You never sit with him. Please understand. You may have right to differ from his thoughts, but you can't fight with him. Just because he is speaking some different language. Please, are you following me? Understanding is very simple. Understanding needs only one thing: your capacity, your capability to listen to people. But do you listen? Do you really listen? You never listen. Because you already taken a stand. Am I right? You have already come to a conclusion. That's why we are resident to meet people. See, your big bosses, your presidents, your vice chancellor, they have already decided about you. Am I right? They call a meeting as if they want to discuss some big things. What meeting? Agenda, outcome, ending, everything has been decided. Am I right? Am I right? You very clearly see the fact. Am I right? This is what's called a cheating. That's why you go and you sit, because you know nothing is possible, nothing is going to happen. What meeting? Stupid meeting. If you are really understanding this, after listening to me, will you change your stand? Will you change your conclusion? कर सकते हैं? It never happens. Because nobody listens to you. I'm not blaming them, but they don't listen. Approaching life with conclusion is the most stupid way to begin this life. Never ever conclude about life. Never ever conclude about doubt. Never ever conclude about how they must live, what they must do, where they must go, what they must become. Never conclude. Because if you conclude, if you have a plan for their future, you make them to fit to that plan. That's the problem. That's exactly what you do. Life cannot be captured in plans. Life cannot be lived by conclusions. Some planning is required in the sense when you have to get up, when you have to catch the bus, otherwise it's difficulty. But remaining things, please don't plan. Life doesn't happen by planning. Life is natural, spontaneous. You must flow with life. And that freedom is ultimate freedom. Wherever it's going to take you, please go. Then you will see the miracle. Your son, your daughter, they will grow so well, they will make you so well, they will become so tall. Of course, one day they will come back to you. Don't get scared. They must fly. They must go away from you. But you are very compassionate. You are holding them too tight. You know, a child when he is born, if you have to breathe, if you have to smile, if you have to leave, what you are supposed to do, what is the most basic act which you are supposed to perform? A child is born, it has to cry, right? It has to breathe, right? It has to breathe. What is the most important act which you are supposed to perform if the child has to leave?
Make him cry.
Huh?
Make him cry.
How do you make him cry? That's a problem.
Slap him.
Oh my God. No, it will become a very, very cruel act, but it's the most compassionate act. You have to take a sharp knife and cut the umbilical cord. Cut. Am I right? You have to cut the, not easy, especially for mothers. Not easy to cut but you have to cut. Because in the cut, you create life. If you try to hold it very close to you, if you don't cut your umbilical cord, you see, no? At some point of time, without any hesitation, without any fear, with tremendous understanding, you simply cut. Cut. Are you following? That requires tremendous understanding. No, you can still love them, please, but that love has become too possessive. And when love becomes very possessive, it becomes poison. You must take care of them. I'm not saying that you should not take care of them. Please take care of them. But you must take care in such a way that they don't even know that you are taking care of them. Am I right? Then you are always there for them. But that should not become your arrogance. You are because of me. Whatever you have, I will give you. Nobody is going like that. Are you following? You must give in such a way. अरे यार मेरा क्या करना चाहता है जा यार किधर जा यार मैं हूँ ना as long as I am there, why you fear? Please go आराम से खुशी से जा Are you following? This is very important. This ability to sit with the person. And I understand, very clearly understand your point. I understand. We are good people. I very clearly see this is good for you. And when you don't listen to me, I get very upset. Am I right? अरे बेटा तू क्या कर रहा है? तेरे को क्या चाहिए? दिल की क्या है आप मेरी जान लीजिए बस एक ऐसा डेंजर सी बस एक बार मेरा कहा मान oh my god what a trap what a beautiful trap this is you know how that trap was my god फंस गए पूरा फंस गए recording me good people they are willing to give anything you ask her she will give everything but बस एक not एक बार 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 this is very remarkable there are the most remarkable skill of creative justice is what's called a dialogue in the real sense not in a stupid way what is the dialogue the dialogue क्या है ये क्या है डायलॉग क्या है आइए dialogue has two components advocacy and inquiry advocacy and inquiry what is advocacy and what is in an effective dialogue, in a good dialogue, there must be advocacy, there must be inquiry. Both must be balanced, both must be harmonized, both must be present. What is advocacy, what is inquiry? Advocacy means what? Advocacy means what? Putting for your thoughts, your perceptions, your ideas, your needs, your expectations, telling me very clearly, Sudhakar, this is what I expect, this is what I want, this is my belief, these are my perceptions. Advocacy, telling your friend, your wife, your son, your daughter, your student about yourself. That is advocacy. That's important. Transparently, sincerely, honestly, don't hide, don't manipulate, don't falsify. Frankly, transparently, you must speak. That is advocacy. Then what is inquiry? Ask him. Find out. Beta, what is that you want? तू क्या करना चाहता है? किधर जाना चाहता है? तू क्या पढ़ना चाहता है? तू किससे शादी करना चाहता है? Are you following? You have to find out. Sincerely, ask honestly, frankly, without any bias, without any prejudice. So if you plan like this, very simple diagram, advocacy in the x-axis, advocacy here, and inquiry in the y-axis. Are you following? This is very low. Low means what? Advocacy is low. Low advocacy means what? When advocacy is very low, low advocacy means what? You are not speaking, you are not telling, you are not sharing, you are not explaining, you don't say anything. You hide, you falsify, you never speak. That is low advocacy. And what is this point? High advocacy. High advocacy means you only speak about yourself. You are most important. Your thoughts are most important. You only speak about yourself. So what is this point? Low inquiry means you never bother, you never ask any friend. You never concerned about mine. You are only concerned about yourself. High inquiry is what? High inquiry is what? High inquiry is what? You only ask, you only probe, you only interfere, you only interrogate. Question after question, only questions. That is inquiry. If you plot like this, there are 4 quadrants. A very simple diagram, 4 quadrants. What is this quadrant? Low advocacy? Very different. Silence of the graveyard. Nobody is telling, nobody is sharing, nobody is smiling, nobody is speaking, nobody is listening. You are hesitant, you are suspicious, you are doubtful. Whom to trust, whom not to trust. क्या करूं? बोलूं या न बोलूं? करूं या न करूं? क्या करूं? कैसे करूं? Very difficult situation. Totally dark. So much of doubt, so much of poison. You can't speak, you can't tell, you can't share, you can't smile. You feel suffocated. Our homes, our classrooms, our institutions can be graveyards. People can't trust each other. They can't speak, they can't share, they can't tell, they can't ask. Because so much of mistrust, so much of suspicion, so much of doubt, so much of poison. You don't feel like speaking. Because if you speak, people may misunderstand. You don't want to speak. Everybody is against you. Everybody is against each other. They destroy. Terrible. Evil. Pure evil is this. Pure evil. And my home can be a place of evil. I mean, you feel suffocated, you feel like running away. First chance you get, you run away. From these parents, from this suffocation, from this tragedy, from this hell. What is this water? Not effective at all, terrible. But unfortunately, we always live here. Terrible way to live, not a way to live. You are dead, you are dead. What is water? High advocacy, but
low advocacy.
when it happens, who happens?
Teachers.
Teachers, oh my God. You become very dominant, you become very authoritarian. You think you know everything and you don't know anything. Big people, powerful people, vice chancellors, presidents, CEOs, chief ministers, prime ministers, people who have the power, who have the prestige, they will make you dance. Because they can destroy you. They very clearly see they have the power to destroy you. They don't care. तू गया तो गया साला, तू मर गया, तेरे को दूसरा मिलेगा. Am I right? They're not bothered, they're concerned because they see you can buy people in this world. That's the ultimate message. They think you can buy me, and they buy people. Am I right? Because they very clearly see your weakness. But nobody can actually replace me. Am I right? Maybe you can buy me, but you can't replace me. But they think that everything can be bought. Everything can be bought. Everything can be corrupted. Everything has a price. That's ultimate insult. Ultimate stupidity. To decide a price on a person. They do that, right? Because they think they can control, they can manipulate anything. Nothing is beyond their control. They control everything. In that process, they destroy themselves, they destroy everything. Are you following me? Terrible. Of course, intention will be good, but in that process, you destroy everything. Life is not possible. Terrible thing. What is this? What is it? When it happens, who it happens? Because pardon, many ladies are here. They go back to Manipal Friday, face on CBI inquiry. And who is the CBI inquiry officer? कहाँ गए थे, किधर गए थे, क्या किया, कितने बजे उठे, किसके साथ गए, क्या देखा, क्या पिया, क्या खाया, कहीं गए, क्या गए, कितने बजे उठे, क्या देखा, क्या टीवी देखा, दोपहर को क्या खाना था, लेकिन मेरे को याद नहीं है, क्या याद नहीं है, क्या खाया था दोपहर को, याद नहीं है बेगम, बिल्कुल याद नहीं है, हो, किसके साथ खाया था? We can't remember. Do you remember? But these remarkable women, they know what every single detail about my life. I have to go and give a big report. No, their intentions are good because they want to take care of us. They want to know everything about us. But in that process, that inquiry becomes so difficult. Question after question, 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 only question. बेगम जी, मैडम जी, बताइए, अब क्या चाहिए? What is that you want to know about me? With the left, home after midnight. Most of us go home only after midnight. We are not against you. We are not against you. We are not against you. हम आपके साथ जीना चाहते हैं, हंसना चाहते हैं, रोना चाहते हैं. But this question is my God. Interrogation, oh my God. काय को जीता interrogation? हम कहीं जा सकते हैं क्या? अब तो छोड़ सकते हैं क्या? छोड़ सकते हैं क्या? No, it's very simple. Understand the concern. When don't get upset when they ask so many questions. That concern is very genuine. But the way they respond, please understand one very simple thing. Men and women are totally opposite. In every way they are opposite. This fact you must very clearly see. You can't expect them to function like your friend, men friend. That's the most basic problem you made. Women are women, men are men. That's why there is so much of attraction. Are you following? So accept women as a women. She has certain problems, certain tendencies, certain reactions, certain responses, certain nature. Woman is a woman. Are you following? Please respect that nature. Don't fight. She's not against you. She's not against you. She's not suspicious about you. She trusts you. But only thing is she wants to find out how was your day. And she also expects that you must also speak. But we never speak. Right? मैं सब बताती हूँ. सवेरे से शाम तक जो भी हुआ मैं सब बताती हूँ. आप क्यों नहीं जी बताते हैं? बता दें क्या है मैडम, क्यों नहीं क्या बताए? ऑफिस गए, क्लास किया, चाय पिया, वापस घर आ गए। No, not that way. How to drink a tea? With whom to drink a tea? Sugar कितना डाला? Everything was that is very They are very particular about small details. They leave details. For everything, for them the detail is very important. For you, that's not very important. For them, the detail is very important. You must give the details. They are very particular. And their memory is very sharp. They cannot forget anything. सच्ची बोल रहा हूँ मैं, बिल्कुल सच्ची बोल रहा हूँ। 20 years back, they went to that marriage. उसने क्या पहना था, उसका साड़ी का बॉर्डर क्या था, उसके गहने क्या थे, every single thing they were not remarkable memory. So like that, you have to accept.
But sir, nowadays there is another situation.
What is the situation? बताइए.
The situation is, it's not necessary that man comes in a man envelope and a woman comes in a woman envelope.
What is the envelope? बताइए.
What do you mean by that?
बताइए. Okay.
Even a man can have the same kind of thought process which a woman has.
Oh my God! Look at it.
Have the man process of the thinking the way the man thinks.
Oh my God! Look at him. He's deciding some very curious things. What he says is very true. Okay. But why is happening? They are wearing pants.
Men don't wear sari.
Oh my God! No, not that way. Be yourself, okay? We are not that great. We are like we. Please permit us to live the way we live. We will permit you the way you want to live. Harmonious. Because by nature we are different. Man. We can't. In the name of human liberation, I am not against women. But please, it is very natural, beautiful creation. Women have so many wonderful things which we cannot copy. We cannot copy. Impossible to copy. Never ever try to copy. Okay, are you following me? But he is correct. But when you try to copy each other, when you try to dominate each other, when you try to become each other, then there is a lot of problems. This nature is a beautiful creation. There is a lot of purpose, a lot of meaning, a lot of significance in this process. Okay, please. There's nothing wrong. Except that I know. There's nothing wrong except that you are a man. You have your own strength. Why you fight with each other? Why try to become each other? What women can do, men never can do. Especially this creation. We never do. When you have that much of right, why fight with it? You are ultimate creators. In no way we can compete with you, especially about creation. Impossible. We have to. I have only one wish. I am a very simple, practical man. In the last 40 years, I lived so well with my wife. I do only one thing. What is that? Sharanu, 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 Sharanu. Complete and total surrender. Then nothing will happen to you. Nobody can touch you because we take care of you. Okay. What did you see?
Communication.
So understanding this, no, very simple things. Very simple things. So you is understanding. You is understanding. C is
Yeah.
very simple, very right. You know, this is very practical section, not philosophy. Clarify expectations. Clarify expectations. Very essential, especially the intimate close relationship. In the beginning of a relationship, please tell them very clearly. Tell them these are my expectations. Otherwise, if you don't clarify, it can create so much of misunderstanding, so much of problems, so much of difficulty, so much of conflict. Especially when you meet your students for the first time, tell them very clearly. These are my expectations. Tell them, repeatedly must tell them. Because they are not against you, they are not against us, but they may not understand your expectations. They may not know your expectations. So better to tell them, this is what I expect, and they will obey, they will follow. They will not go against you, but please understand, don't clarify, and then you get upset. Clarification is very important. After 6 months of my marriage, first time I went to kitchen, I told my wife, shall I help you? Oh, she was so happy. Begum, how shall I help you? She says, you cut this lady's finger, bendikai, and she gives this bendikai and she goes away. You cut the bendikai. I am so warm, I want to impress my wife, I take the cutting board, I take the knife, I start cutting. beautiful, cute, artistic, poetic, every piece is so uniform, like what an artistic work, beautiful, very precious, very precious, very accurate. Took me half an hour to cut the Bindi. I thought she would come, she would appreciate, she would hug, she would kiss, she comes. And the way she looks at the Bindi Khai, I'm getting scared. God, क्या हो गया? क्या गलती हो गई? अच्छा किया काम, बहुत नहीं किया काम. क्यों ऐसी देख रही है? बेगम मेरी बेगम क्यों ऐसी देख रही है? Finally she looks at me and says, "You never ever enter my kitchen again." राम इतना अच्छा किया. बेगम को क्यों बुरा लगा? क्या हुआ? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with this work? क्या problem? अरे you go, आप मत बोलिए, आप किसके पार्टी है? It's very simple. She wants to make ladies finger sambar. Ladies finger sambar means lambe pieces. I thought she's going to make ladies finger body. Body means before you go, you must tell me very clearly. Sudhakar, I am going to make ladies finger sambar. Make big pieces. In fact, making it so big pieces is so easy. I could have finished 5 minutes. Please tell me no. Before you go, must clarify. You must very clearly tell Sudhakar, I am going to make ladies finger. Now you come and scold me. You shout at me. You insult me. You should clarify, no? You tell me, no? What a woman you are. You must immediately tell. Before you must go, you must ask, no? Oh, you are correct. They are all becoming men. So she will ask. Why should it leave? You must ask, no? You must find out, no? You know, now we have become remarkable. I told you, I have no problem. In my house, it's like a bar. Do you know what we do now? With big pieces, we make bhaji. With small pieces, we make palia. But I'm not joking. Please look at yourself. The way we fight. Morning fight, afternoon fight, evening fight, night fight, late night fight. You go to temple, you fight. You go to market, you fight. You go to cinema, you fight. You go to mall, you fight. You go anywhere, you fight. Only fight. Only fight. Only fight. Only fight. Only fight. In between there is some gap, preparing for the next fight. I know. I'm not saying she should not fight, so please understand. Please observe, every single fight is a stupid fight. We never real fight for real things, big things, important things. Every single fight because of a Bindi Khai. Right? And no, look at your fights. Every single fight is a stupid fight. You simplify. One fight is enough. This is a war. You fight, but please understand. Every single fight leaves behind some scar, some smoke. Be very careful. Please, be very careful. Be very careful. Life is very short. Life is very young. Don't waste all those beautiful things, beautiful moments by fighting. One fight is enough. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, somehow you recover, somehow you come back, but you never come back. The way you will come back. It always leaves some scar. Am I right? So please be very careful. Be very careful. Manage expectation. Please tell me very clearly. I'm willing to listen. I'm not against you. Please tell me clearly. I'm not understood. Okay? What is this case? So first is you is understanding. Simple thing, but we miserably fail to clarify expectations. I can't read your mind. Please tell me. What is this case?
Know each other.
First is you is understanding. Please clarify case.
Know each other.
Very simple.
Knowing.
Keep the promises. जो वादा किया वो निभाना पड़ेगा रोके जमाना चाहे रोके खुदा भी तुमको आना पड़ेगा जो वादा किया promises are most sacred. Before you make a promise, maybe your son, maybe your daughter, maybe your spouse, maybe your student, maybe your friend, please ask yourself whether I will fulfill the promise. Most essential, especially your child. When you have promised him that I am buying a chocolate for him, please buy a chocolate. Of course, once in a while you may be really busy, you might have forgotten to bring the chocolate. Please go and ask him sincerely, अरे यार, माफ करना यार, भूल हो गई यार, बहुत काम था यार आज, बिल्कुल माफ करना यार, कल जरूर लाऊंगा यार. You have to ask for forgiveness. 2 things we never do. One is asking for genuine, honest, frank. We make mistakes. We are humans and we must make mistakes. But what makes you divine is asking for forgiveness. Ask immediately. Don't plan anything. Immediately you must go and say, "Maaf karega, bhul ho gayi." Kasam se, bhul ho gayi. Next thing, we never appreciate people. We never appreciate people. Appreciation is most remarkable, man. When you appreciate, you become divine, you become God. Your students, your son, your daughter, your wife, your parents, so many good things they do, but you never appreciate. Please, especially students, they're so innocent, they're so nice, they're so good. When they do some remarkable things, please appreciate. One pat, one good word, one smile, one handshake, they start growing. For them, that appreciation is most essential, most important. Amrit is that appreciation. Please appreciate. Don't waste time, don't plan. Immediately you must appreciate. And that appreciation is so powerful, so genuine.
With one exception.
And
don't appreciate your neighbor's wife.
You appreciate her, not with your wife, am I right?
Right, sir.
Appreciate. Have no fear. Nothing, nobody will misunderstand, nobody will write that you are trying to please, but that must come from here, okay? Not trying to please any, not this one. Real appreciation. External. Promises are most essential. Especially not spoken promises, the hidden promises. What are hidden promises? 35 years, you went to that home, you met your wife, you took her hand, you went to that holy fire. Dharmecha, Arthecha, Kamecha, Mokshecha, Natijara. In Dharma, in Artha, in Kama, in Moksha, I will be always there with you. In good times, I will be there with you. In bad times, still I will be. These are the promises. They are sacred. When you become a father, when you become a mother, when you become a teacher, there are certain promises. Please, as much as possible, try to respect those promises. If you go on breaking promises, you cannot create trust. Most essential, very simple, but very, very essential. Most essential. Then what is that? What is that? M is what?
Motivation.
Most important in trust. Most important. Maintain personal integrity. Integrity is most crucial for creating trust. Nothing else matters. The only thing matters is integrity. What is integrity? Integrity means what? I and you must be a man of integrity. Integrity is ultimate. The most difficult challenge to live in this world is to remain with that integrity. Because every person is to destroy integrity. They are very happy when they destroy integrity. Honesty, it's more than honesty.
Do anything without any expectation.
Doing anything without expectation, very correct. But apart from that, what's the essence of integrity?
It has to be right.
Excellent, excellent. But what is integrity?
Protecting your values.
Protecting my principles, my understanding.
Differentiate between what you preach and what you practice.
Exactly. Integrity. Suppose I say, listening is very important, listening is very important, listening is most important. When I come to my office tomorrow, if I don't listen to you, if I insult you, that shows I have no. That means practice what you teach. Most essential, because people observe us. People very clearly observe us. They may not say so, but they very clearly see this man has no integrity. My thought, my speech and my action must be integrated. That's why all our leaders, every single leader has no integrity. We are most unfortunate, we have to get these kind of leaders. What they say, what they think, what they do is absolutely no integrity. Integrity is the ultimate challenge to live in this world. This world is not easy world. Everybody is after integrity. They feel very happy when they destroy your integrity. But you must have tremendous strength. Whatever will happen, my integrity is my integrity. Integrity also means showing respect to the person who is absent. Integrity also means showing respect to the person who is, listen to me carefully. Integrity is showing respect to the person who is. It is not just enough that you show respect to the person who is present. You must also show respect to the person who is absent. What does it mean? This is most essential. You are signing of real integrity. Showing respect to the person who is absent, who is not there. That means, for example, me and Gaurav and Akalam Kelly, Sunil, Gaurav and Sudhakar, good friends, wonderful friends. When Sunil is not there, in his absence, I go to Gaurav. Hey Gaurav, आ जा यार मेरे क्या दोस्त है क्या बंदा है कैसा है आजकल नहीं दिख रहा है सब ठीक है हाँ वो सुनील क्या हो गया, उस सुनील को क्या हो गया, हमारा दोस्त आजकल नहीं दिख रहा यार, क्या हो गया, उसके बारे में तू जानता है क्या? तू नहीं जानता है, तेरे को पता नहीं है, झूठ मत बोल मेरे से, सच सच बोल, तो उसके बारे में नहीं जानता है, नहीं जानता है, मैं बताता हूँ तुझे, अरे तो तुम्हारा दोस्त हो रहा है, किसको मत बताना, अरे यार क्या हो रहा है यार, क्या हो गया, आपको पता नहीं, किसी को मत बताना, वो सुनील है ना हमारा यार, हमारा जिगरी दोस्त, आजकल क्या हो रहा है मालूम है, रोज ये अभी पीते हैं ओ बेटा ओ माय गॉड ना पीता है यार, ना पीता है रोज यार, हाफ बॉटल फुल बॉटल कहाँ देखा था इतना ऐसे ऐसे क्यों लगता है क्या गड़बड़ है क्या? क्यों पीता है भाई, मैं देख नहीं सकता यार, भाई बिल्कुल देख नहीं सकता, मैं देख रहा था यार, क्यों ऐसा करता है यार, क्यों इतना पीता है यार? You know what happens to him when I do this in his absence? When I do this, you know what happens to him? What you understand? The man will not share and loyalty. This man Sudhakar is a very dangerous fellow. If you can do this to Sunil, he will do the same thing to you. Come on. You very clearly see this man has no integrity. That means in simple words, integrity means never ever gossip. Good people, but please be very careful, especially your relatives, your neighbors, your colleagues, your students, please, I'm not trying to fight with you, but when you speak, you may be intentionally good, but please understand, once the words are spoken, they tend to say your own shape. Rumors, gossips, they're most difficult poisons, hardcore the vision. One gossip, one rumor is enough to destroy a country, a nation, an institution, a civilization. Because of one rumor, you go and kill millions. Just because of it. Rumor are most deadly. Please be very careful what you speak with this thing. This is a very wonderful, excellent thing, but speak things which are required, which are essential. Don't go on speaking about your people. Please be very careful, especially in front of your students. Don't speak about your colleagues. Your intention may be good, but what he hears, what he interprets, what he adds his color, you will be surprised, you will be shocked. मैंने ऐसा कभी नहीं बोला था यार. But when that person comes from and you speaking about him, you will be terrible. I mean, nobody will find out what is the actual fact. They will simply listen to rumor and they think that it must come from you. You are spreading rumors about me. In no way you can clarify. Once the doubt comes, it's over. It's over. So please, the last thing is very simple. Thank you so much for patient listening. What is the last thing? A very simple thing. What is the last thing? So you for understanding, clarify expectations, keep the promises, maintain personal integrity, small things, simple things, but they are essential to create trust. And last one is very important. What is it? Love. Little things. Little things. What are little things? They may look little, but they are the most essential, most important things in life. In trust, in affection. Little things. I just distribute this handout, then we can. Thank you so much. 5 minutes to 1. I will read this and then we break for lunch. Is that alright? Thank you so much. Little things. Don't necessarily explain at all. Very simple. I read this handout. It's very clear. You can understand. A remarkable father is narrating a small, beautiful incident on evening he sent his 2 sons. He is narrating the story. Little things. All of you got this? All of you got this handout? A very kind, very compassionate father narrating this little thing. I remember an evening I spent with 2 of my sons some years ago. It was an organized father and son outing, complete gymnastics, wrestling matches, hot dogs, arranged the movie and the works. That father and son, what a remarkable combination. Super. In the middle of the movie scene was that 4 years old fell asleep in the seat. His older brother Stephen was 6 years old, stayed awake, and we watched the rest of the movie together. When the movie was over, I picked up Stephen, who was still sleeping, up in my arms and carried him out of the car and laid him back seat of the car. It was very cold that night, so I took off my coat and gently arranged it over and around him. When we arrived home, I quickly carried Stephen up and took him in bed. After Stephen put on his jammies and brushed his teeth, I lay down next to him and he started talking about the great night out together. How do you like it, Stephen? Fine, you answered. Did you have some fun? Yes, Papa. What did you like most? I don't know, the trampoline, I guess. Oh, that was a quite a thing. Wasn't it doing those moments on the entrance and like that? There was not much response on his part. I found myself making conversation. I wondered why Stephen would not open up more. He really done exciting, beautiful things happen to him. I was little disappointed. I said something is terribly wrong. He had been so quiet, so silent on the way back home and getting ready for bed. Suddenly Stephen turned on his side, facing the wall. I wondered why, and I lifted myself just enough to see his eyes. By the link of tears, what's wrong? He turned back, and I could sense he was feeling some embarrassment for those beautiful tears. He was very independently. He said, Daddy, if I were cold, would you put your coat around me too? Of all the events of that special night out together, the most important, the most touching, was this act of kindness. Momentary, unconscious, unplanned, showing, giving, offering that love is. Nothing else is required. Nothing else is required. Don't struggle. Don't go so hard to make you happy. Good people, you see, you struggle so much so that you can make your people happy, right? No, it's for people focus.
Yeah, easy to opt for the same.
Yeah, never had it for remarkable people. Please understand, very good people, remarkable people. I devote my whole life so that I can make my people happy. My father, my mother, my wife, my son, my daughter. But are you really able to make them happy? You can give them anything. But in spite of that, it's not easy to make them happy. Don't bring any gift. Don't make any sacrifice. No duty, no responsibility. Nothing is required. Duty is covered. Find some time to please come. Your essence, your presence, your smile, your breath, your closeness, your trust, more than enough. आप जरूर आइए, हमारे पास आइए, हमारे साथ बैठिए, इससे बातें कीजिए, हमें देखिए, हमें पहचानिए, बहुत सुकून से, बहुत शांति से, in deep softness, in deep understanding, in deep closeness. कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिल्कुल कुछ मत कीजिए मेरे लिए. I have enough. I'm only missing you. Please come. आराम से, freshly. जैसे बाहर आती है, वैसे आइए. Please come. I've been waiting for you. Please come. बैठिए, सुकून से बैठिए, शांति से बैठिए. मेरे और देखिए. Please, in your own way, remarkable way, simple way, creative way, you please smile at me. इससे ज़्यादा कुछ भी नहीं. Don't destroy yourself because of me. I never asked you that you must make me happy. I never asked you that you must bring valuable gifts. I never asked you that you have to go to a distant place. And I lost so much of wealth. You lost. काम करते 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 इतना थक गए, इतना थक गए. I've been so tired, man. This whole process of living, I've become so tired, bored tired. I don't know what's happening to me. Don't you feel so tired sometimes? Especially the women, you see, they work so hard. कुछ भी करते हैं, कैसे भी करते हैं, क्या भी करते हैं. Nothing seems to happen. करके 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 इतना थक जाते हैं. फिर भी हम उठते हैं, फिर भी उठते हैं. Every single day they have to get up. इतना काम करते हैं, इतना थक जाते हैं. Don't do anything, man. Life. कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए यार. कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए यार. Why you are destroying yourself? Why you are destroying me? Good people, remarkably good people. It is so easy, it's so simple to live here. Why? Why so much of struggle? Are you following? Please. You have everything. You have everything. And you are so rich inside. This richness is ultimate, unlimited richness. In fact, you can take care of this whole world. You are so potential. You are so amazing. You are so remarkable. You are so ultimate. You are the ultimate Buddha. You have so much here. Please, give it up. Give it up. And that will start flowing. It will start flowing. It will start flowing. And it will start flowing. You have reached home. You have reached home. Never get lost in life. You are always in home. You must be always in home. You are always in home. Only thing you have to wake up. And then you will start the magic. And it will start flowing. माना अपनी जेब से फकीर है, फिर भी यारों दिल के हम अमीर हैं. माना अपनी जेब से फकीर है, फिर भी यारों दिल के हम अमीर हैं कि मर के भी किसी को याद आएंगे, किसी की आंसुओं में मुस्कुराएंगे, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है किसी की मुस्कुराहटों से हो विदा, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उठा, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है, जीना इसी का नाम है, जीना इसी का नाम है। थैंक यू सो मच। बहुत अच्छा लगा जी, इतना अच्छा लग रहा है, इतना अच्छा लग रहा है, इतना अच्छा नथिंग, this has been created with nothing. I found this joy, this song, this class requires nothing. It requires only your trust. Nothing else matters. Thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. Great for lunch and then we come back at 2 o'clock. We have a very important session in the afternoon. We start with public speaking and then we will conclude by 4:45. Is that alright? Thank you so much. Thank you.